Good evening, everybody, and welcome to WCBN Sports coverage of Michigan men's basketball here at the Crisler Center. And the second game of the season, the Gavitt games are upon us in 2019. Juwan Howard's Michigan Wolverines, the second game of his coaching career against the Creighton Blue Jays. My name is Nick Hornburg. Alongside me, Jared Greenspan for the first half. Evan Oesterle and Daniel Thompson will join us for the second. Well, Jared, the Juwan Howard era at Michigan still very much in its infancy, but showed just enough to make people a little bit nervous coming into tonight.
Yeah, it was all looking good about given like 30 minutes into the game, and then Appalachian State came roaring back, cutting what was over a 30-point lead to a 4-point lead for Michigan. Fortunately, after a Xavier Simpson steal that occurred late in the game, Michigan was able to survive the late rally, and it's a much steeper step up in competition tonight against the Creighton Blue Jays, who hail from the Big East. Certainly a formidable opponent and a big test for Michigan tonight. As
the lights down here at the Crisler Center, Greg McDermott, the head coach at Creighton in his 10th season, should be noted that when he was hired, his son, Doug, was a senior in high school. As either way, since the departure of Doug McDermott to the Chicago Bulls, Greg McDermott's Creighton career really gone quite well. Creighton Blue Jays, absolutely a good program. One could argue the best program in the state of Nebraska, though Fred Hoiberg might have something different to say about that within a few years.
Yeah, the Blue Jays are middle of the pack, Big East team, which is a solid conference. Tonight you'll be looking for Creighton to really light it up from beyond the arc. That'll be key for Michigan to limit the three-pointers. Creighton has a lot of potent shooters. Marcus Zagorowski, number 11. Tyshawn Alexander, number 5. Creighton is filled with three-point shooters, those two especially, amongst the two best in the conference. And for Michigan, it'll also be key to play inside. Going to John Teske, he had a huge game in the opener with 17 points and 13 rebounds. And Creighton's tallest player in their starting lineup is Christian Bishop, who stands at 6'7". So if Michigan can go inside and get Teske going, that will be key to their success.
As Michigan's lineups being announced, Franz Wagner still out as expected. Adrian Nunez will start for the second game in a row. The sophomore who barely played last season as a freshman will play in that backcourt alongside Eli Brooks and Xavier Simpson. As the bigs now announced, Isaiah Livers and John Teske playing that front court as expected. As Jared, I know you weren't here last year, but I think there has been a decline in the quality of the hype video at the beginning. I think last year's was better.
The hype video for the exhibition game against Saginaw Valley State was very so much hype, but it was more so focused on Juwan Howard. And then they showed a different one tonight and against Appalachian State, and I agree, the quality's not quite there yet.
As Juwan Howard announced to a cavernous but somewhat empty tonight Crisler Center. The Maze Rage full, but aside from that, lots and lots of empty seats, considering that it is Tuesday night and it is the surface of Hoth outside.
Certainly the weather has a bit to do with that. Students, though, they're pretty packed, arguably more crowded than last game in the Maze Rage out in full force. They at least know that tonight is a very important game in the Gavitt tip-off games between Michigan and Creighton, two very solid teams from big conferences. Really the first test for this Michigan team, this very much new-look Michigan team this year. I think we'll learn a lot about this team as tonight goes on.
As it is the half hour, and we would like to welcome all of you listening here on 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor. We've averted federal prison for 30 minutes at least. As
that's always good.
The Blue Jays taking the court. Creighton will be wearing their sky blue uniforms with white jersey numbers as well as white trim. Michigan gonna play in their yellows as expected. As Juwan Howard taking a little extra time to go over a few things with his team. Eli Brooks, should be noted, scored 24 points last week against Appalachian State, a career high by a mile for the junior.
It was imperative all season, really, that one of the quartet of Eli Brooks, David DeJulius, Colin Castleton, and Brandon Johns steps up to provide some of that scoring impetus. And last game it was Brooks with 24. Can he duplicate that tonight, or will it be someone else? We'll find out.
Michigan thanking the officials at the scorer's table before taking the floor. Indeed, Eli Brooks stepping up as a starter. Nunez also in the starting lineup. David DeJulius allegedly scored 22 points.
Allegedly.
In a closed-door scrimmage last month. 0 for 3 shooting last week, though, against Appalachian State, as the cursed Mountaineers will always have a place in Ann Arbor, as John Teske going to step towards the center line, going to go against Christian Bishop. John Teske giving 6 inches, or having 6 inches over his counterpart Bishop, as Cameron Bishop does have a couple extra inches of hair, though, and the tip-off is won by Teske, and we are underway here at the Crisler Center. Xavier Simpson in the half court, going to give it to Isaiah Livers, now wearing number 2, as Eli Brooks moves out to the left. Brooks going to give it back to Nunez. Nunez is going to pull up for 3, and that's going to hit off the back of the rim and rebounded by Tyshawn Alexander. Creighton trying to push the tempo. Alexander to Sharif Mitchell at the top, guarded by Simpson. Mitchell going to move to his left with a screen from Bishop. Gives it back to Bishop. Bishop might pull up for 3. No, he's going to drive into the paint. Bishop on Teske all the way back out to Mitch Ballack. And now the drive from Marcus Zagorowski. Now Mitch Ballack again at the top. 7 seconds left the shot clock. Ballack's going to drive, and Creighton gets the first points of the game.
Nunez was a little weak defensively in the first game against Appalachian State, and there just let his opponent go right by him, lay in the shot clock.
Simpson crosses into the half court, trying to cross up Mitchell to no avail. Now Livers to Brooks. Brooks is going to go left again. Michigan looks like they're going to run the same set. Now Nunez back up top, but this time guarded by Zagorowski. And Simpson at the baseline. Simpson all the way across to Brooks. Brooks driving. Brooks pulls up from 8 feet, and that's going to go. Eli Brooks' shooting continues.
Eli Brooks looks very confident tonight, just as he did last game and in the exhibition.
Bishop at the point now to Zagorowski. Zagorowski going to pull up from the free throw line. That's going to hit off the top of the rim, rebounded by John Teske. And Xavier Simpson not going to try and push tempo, but he is going to go to his right off the screen from Teske. Simpson, overhead pass tipped away, out of bounds, off of Mitch Ballack, and Michigan will have possession.
And Nick, you mentioned tempo. It'll be interesting to watch how each team dictates the tempo. Certainly Michigan featured a more run-and-gun attack in their first game, and Creighton as well, notorious for pushing the pace.
Xavier Simpson going to play the inbound overhead to John Teske. Now Eli Brooks at the point. Brooks going to move slightly to the left, and another overhead pass to Simpson. Creighton defending tenaciously. Simpson off a screen and roll from Teske. Now Brooks going to move to the free throw line. Brooks is going to try and drive, has it stripped, but now Bishop is going to have room to run. Now it's Sharif Mitchell going to go in on Brooks, forced back by Simpson and Nunez on a long 3 for Ballack, and it's good as Creighton's up 5-2. Michigan going to play quickly, or at least play the inbound quickly. Xavier Simpson slowing it down. Now Brooks give and go with Simpson on the right. Simpson going to move back to the middle, calling for Brooks. Teske going to set a screen. Simpson is going to move in. Simpson off to Nunez at the corner for 3. That's good.
Adrian Nunez, that's his strength, pure shooting, and he provides it there.
Zagorowski gives to Bishop at the top, and now it's Sharif Mitchell. Mitchell to Bishop at the corner to Ballack. Zagorowski going to move to his right, and the screen set by Bishop. Zagorowski going to pull up for 3 again, and that hits the front of the rim. No good. Had Zagorowski gone to ground, that would have been a foul on Nunez probably. Simpson now to Livers. Livers going to look to drive, but ultimately forced back. Gives it to Teske. Now back to Livers. Livers going to drive to the hoop. Livers going to play that pass off to Brooks. Brooks for 3 now, off the front of the rim, rebounded by Ballack. Now Creighton, room to break, but not a lot of tempo there. Sharif Mitchell going to try and cross up Nunez, but Mitchell ultimately forced back by the sophomore. As Mitchell going to pull up from the free throw line, and that one's not going to go, rebounded by Eli Brooks. Michigan, again, not trying to speed it up, as Simpson at the right, going to disregard a screen from Teske. Now Livers for 3, good.
Interesting strategy by Michigan early. You'd think they go inside to Teske, who has a 6-inch height advantage over the closest, next tallest Creighton player. Instead, they're working in the perimeter. A lot of three-point attempts early for this Michigan team thus far.
Sharif Mitchell to Bishop to Zagorowski. Now Ballack Zagorowski back to Bollock. Bollock, the quick three off the screen, and that's good. Creighton matching Michigan punch for punch, shooting the ball.
Bollock's got 6 now, proving to be a bit of an issue.
As Xavier Simpson guarded tenaciously by Mitchell. Simpson, fake hook shot all the way back to Teskey for 3 off the front of the rim. As Creighton moving up now with Tyshawn Alexander. Now Bollock. Bollock fakes the shot, gets it all the way back to Tyshawn Alexander. Alexander off the screen from Bishop. Alexander to Zagorowski at the corner. Now Bishop. Zagorowski. Zagorowski's going to drive in on Teskey, ultimately forced all the way back. Sharif Mitchell, backdoor cut, and was he blocked? Either way, that ball's going to go out, and Creighton retains possession, but there could very well be 2 blocks assessed there.
On that play, Teskey had been drawn all the way out to the perimeter on the left wing, and Sharif Mitchell in the left corner had an angle to the basket. Eli Brooks out of nowhere jumped up to contest the shot, and then the second effort, John Teskey came back in to say, that's my paint, knocked it away, and we are tied at 8 here at the under-16 timeout.
Mitch Bollock already 8 points, 3 for 3 shooting from the field, 2 for 2 from beyond the arc, leading the game, and he is Creighton's only scorer.
Yeah, on the flip side for Michigan, the only touch on the offensive end that John Teskey has gotten is 20-plus feet away from the basket beyond the three-point arc. Again, certainly an interesting strategy. Teskey has such a height advantage, and they went to Teskey early on last game against Appalachian State, and he dominated the inside. An Appalachian State team that also had a weak interior, but had players taller than Creighton does. So we'll see if Juwan Howard continues this offense or makes adjustments out of the stretch.
Forrest Gump was released in 1994. That is what year it is. As we're correct, as always.
Great job by our contestant there.
We know everything here up in the booth. As the under-16 timeout rolls on, 15:39 left in the first half. The score 8-8. As both teams shooting reasonably okay to start. Michigan a bit better, 3 for 6 from the field. Creighton 3 for 8 from the field. However, the Blue Jays 2 for 3 from beyond the arc. Michigan 2 for 5.
Yeah, Creighton's best player, Tyshawn Alexander, by far and away their best player, has been held in check. Has really been played off ball, has yet to take a shot. Alexander averaged 16 points per game last year. As a sophomore, was honorable mention All Big East, but tonight Michigan doing a good job defending Alexander around the perimeter, forcing other guys to step up.
As Eli Brooks with his first points of the game opened the scoring, as he has 2 on 1 for 2 shooting. However, he did miss his lone 3-point attempt. Was that Adrian Nunez's first made 3 of his career?
Nunez made a 3 late in the Appalachian State game during the time when they were up by like 30.
You're correct, I'm sorry.
But this was, we can go as this is his first 3-pointer in action that mattered.
And it looks like Creighton's going to trot some height out there. Kelvin Jones, 6'11", senior, going to come out onto the court for his first action of the game, as well as number 23, Damian Jefferson, junior from East Chicago, Indiana, which I guess is a thing.
Damian Jefferson was questionable coming into the game with a foot injury, did not play in their opener last Tuesday. A note on Kelvin Jones is he is well-traveled, has played at Idaho State, has played at UTEP, making now a stop at Creighton.
Now, it's a fair question. How many people are there from Chihuahua, Mexico named Kelvin Jones?
Let's just say when I was looking up Kelvin Jones, I did not make the connection that it was Chihuahua, Mexico when I first looked at his name.
As inbound is going to be played by Marcus Zagorowski. Bollock makes a quick break, and Bollock's going to pull up for the corner. Excellently worked play by Creighton, but there's 3 offensive rebounds there by Kelvin Jones, and now Tyshawn Alexander for 3 is no-go. Another offensive rebound as Tyshawn Alexander is now going to drive on Teskey, and now Jones, and after like 3 or 4 attempts, Kelvin Jones.
For Kelvin Jones, persistence personified, 4 times the charm there, 3 offensive rebounds, 2 missed shots finally. Gets it to go. So he makes a difference early for sure.
Simpson to Brooks on his left. Now Xavier Simpson at the top. Brooks going to move to the baseline. Brooks going to get it off to Teske. Teske is going to shoot a three again, and another miss. Rebounded by Marcus Zegarowski. Now Balak to Tyshawn Alexander. Now Zegarowski at the top, guarded by Livers. Zegarowski trying to get past Livers as Livers interfered with the shot, though. Another rebound for Kelvin Jones.
Jones is just dominating right now.
Jefferson to Alexander to Balak. Now Jones is going to set the screen. Balak is going to drive in, and the overhead to Jones. Jones is going to try and do a no-look layup, but no go. Rebounded by Teske. Now Xavier Simpson. Simpson going to look to drive. Simpson's going to go up for a layup, and that's going to go. It's even at 10.
That's the first time tonight we've seen Michigan push the pace, and now Creighton doing the same on the other end.
Zegarowski to Tyshawn Alexander. Alexander's going to pull up from the free throw line. No go, and foul called, off-ball foul. I think that was on Damian Jefferson. It will be Michigan's ball. David DeJulius is at the scorer's table. He's going to be Michigan's first substitution as Christian Bishop back in the game. Kelvin Jones put a shift in. Now he's back on the bench.
Well, a note on Kelvin Jones as he picks up the foul there is he appeared in 29 games last year for Idaho State, and he fouled out in 13 of them. So fouls certainly an issue for him as he takes a seat on the bench because of his first.
Okay, that was Kelvin Jones, not Damian Jefferson. Simpson on the left side, interfered by Zegarowski. Now Teske is double marked as Teske is trapped, and a quick outlet pass to Livers. Driving in, put Michigan out front.
Beautiful pass by Teske, swarmed in the right corner, and an even better cut by Livers, who gets the deuce.
Christian Bishop at the top, and Brooks almost has a steal. Balak gets it off to Jefferson. Jefferson, Balak wants that quick shot, ultimately pump fake. Now he shoots, and another shot for Mitch Balak.
That's nothing Eli Brooks could do about that one. Balak a few steps behind the arc. Brooks was all over him. He's just got the hot hand now. 11 points.
Simpson at the right corner, goes to the baseline. Simpson going to try and go up, but trapped by Zegarowski, forced to play it all the way back out to Eli Brooks. Shot clock halfway dead as Teske sets the screen. Brooks is going to drive overhead pass to Xavier Simpson, who's going to shoot a three. Good. That didn't even touch the net as Zegarowski slightly to the left of center. Bishop wants to set the screen, ultimately waved off. Bishop is going to take it. Now Tyshawn Alexander going to try and drive back out to Jefferson. Jefferson's going to drive now back to Alexander at the top of the key. Balak, Bishop. Bishop going to drive in on Teske. The block for John Teske and the rebound. Teske, Simpson, Michigan not going to play fast. Simpson slowing it down. Teske sets the screen. Simpson will move, and the screen well defended. Livers going to pull up for three now, and Isaiah Livers hits his second.
That's the bread and butter for Michigan. Teske is defense on one end with the block, and then Livers, the pure shooting stroke on the other. Michigan's got their largest lead. It's 5.
Now Zegarowski going to slow it down for Creighton. Gives it off to Mitch Balak. Colin Castleton at the scorer's table going to come in at the next stoppage. Alexander's going to drive, guarded by Brooks, and the pass completely misses Zegarowski. That's going to go out of bounds for the first turnover of the game for either team.
Tremendous defense by Eli Brooks all over Tyshawn Alexander as he tried to drive inside, consequently forcing the errant pass, and as you said, the first turnover of the game for the Blue Jays.
12:02 left in the first half. The score 18-13 in favor of the home team. Michigan on a 6-0 run in the last minute or so.
They're 4-4 from their last 4 from the field. Getting the shooting together a bit.
Livers, long overhead back pass to Xavier Simpson, the only outlet available. Simpson into the half court, guarded by Sharif Mitchell. DeJulius still on the floor. DeJulius is going to drive. DeJulius off to Castleton. Castleton is cleanly stripped. Jump ball called, however.
One thing of note from that play, although it did not result in a basket, is David DeJulius on that drive alone looked perhaps as confident as you've seen him since the exhibition game against Saginaw Valley, where he struggled from the field, came out against Appalachian State and was hesitant to shoot, but there, right into the game, gets to the basket, sets up a great play, just an even better defensive effort by Tyshawn Alexander to come from behind and force the jump ball on Colin Castleton, who thought himself he had an easy dunk.
The possession arrow was pointed towards Creighton, so it will be Blue Jays ball once the under-12 timeout recedes. It is 11:49 left in the first half. The score is still 18-13. Michigan had a clear scoring chance. Colin Castleton was about to blow the roof off the Crisler Center with a dunk, but excellent defense by Tyshawn Alexander.
Yeah, eight minutes and change into this ball game, and Xavier Simpson looks like a different player from last game. Simpson largely felt invisible, especially as Appalachian State was making their run in the second half. But tonight, Simpson is the floor general point guard that we know and expected him to be this season. He's got 5 points, a three-pointer as well, and most importantly, 3 assists, getting that passing and ball movement around.
As a bit of an appreciation for the veterans here tonight. Tonight is Military Appreciation Day. Is it unreasonable to say the people who decided not to brave the cold to come to this game are not supporting the troops?
Perhaps we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Veterans Day. Certainly a lot of veterans on hand who stood up to be recognized and got a healthy ovation from the crowd here at Crisler Center. One more thing of note from play so far is that Michigan is shooting 58% from the field. Creighton, meanwhile, 29%, just 5 of 17. They are 3 of 6 from 3, but struggling anywhere inside the arc. Of course, three-point shooting is their forte. Michigan's done a good job defensively.
As there are a bunch of people dressed as cows in the front row where the B line used to be in the John D. line era. We're not sure about that. If anybody has any inclination as to what that is all about, please leave a comment in the live chat of this broadcast on YouTube.com. Thank you.
45 minutes or so, the cows came strolling in. There are about 7 of them. We pondered the correlation, possible correlation of any relevance to this game or Michigan basketball, yet we hit a wall. So if you have answers, help us out.
We're not sure, but either way, the timeout ongoing. TV is here, so the timeouts are going to be long.
Yep, Michigan breaking their huddle right about now. Looks like Castleton, DeJulius, Simpson, Livers, and perhaps Brooks will be out there for your Wolverines.
Indeed, I see no changes in the timeout for Michigan. Doesn't look like Creighton making any changes either.
Creighton, they've got to get their backcourt going. Sharif Mitchell, the freshman, 0 of 3. Tyshawn Alexander, 0 of 2. That'll be imperative for them if they want to catch up in this game down by 5.
The inbound to Sharif Mitchell. Going to give it to Damian Jefferson. Now Mitch Ballock. Ballock to Tyshawn Alexander. Alexander off the screen from Bishop, and the quick pass to a rolling Bishop, and perfectly executed pick and roll for Creighton,
Pass was so fast inside that Bishop bobbled it for a second, but was able to recover and lay it up and in.
Simpson trying to spin away from Sharif Mitchell, but the freshman doing a great job on Michigan's captain. Now Eli Brooks, the back. Castleton's going to set a screen. Brooks forced back. Brooks is going to go to the baseline. Brooks is trapped, going to get it off to DeJulius. DeJulius is going to drive DeJulius from 10 feet, and David DeJulius, his first points of the season. Sharif Mitchell out to Damian Jefferson. Now Mitch Ballock off the screen from Bishop. Ballock's going to drive. Tyshawn Alexander at the corner. Mitchell back to Jefferson. Creighton moving the ball quickly. Jefferson's going to drive. Jefferson's going to go up, and Jefferson with his first points.
Jefferson finding a crease out of nowhere. That Michigan defense is suffocating. But good work by Jefferson to get inside.
DeJulius off the screen from Castleton to Livers. Livers from three-point land. Going to move to the free throw line. Back to DeJulius. Now to Simpson. Brandon Johns at the scorer's table. He's going to come in. Simpson loses the ball. That's going to go out of bounds. Creighton basketball. Xavier Simpson turns the ball over.
Creighton on defense is very aggressive, fighting for a lot of pump fakes. We've seen DeJulius take advantage of that twice. Livers and Simpson tried to there. Simpson just lost it on the way up.
Marcus Zagorowski back in for Creighton. Brandon Johns making his first appearance of the game for Michigan. Going to replace Eli Brooks as Michigan going to get a little bit bigger. I don't know if you could call any lineup with David DeJulius in it big, but the average size has increased with the Johns for Brooks substitution.
Yeah, a bit of contrast. Simpson DeJulius small.
And Xavier Simpson called for the kick there, almost the steal from Sharif Mitchell.
Simpson all over the place early, looks much more comfortable, much more in his element thus far. Stat line of 3 assists, 5 points. Active on the defensive end as well.
as Sharif Mitchell standing on the baseline to play the inbound. Bit of stoppage now. Overhead to Bishop. Bishop guarded by Castleton. Bishop is called for the double dribble, and Creighton giving the ball right back.
A brain lapse there for Bishop. Not quite sure what he was thinking. So Michigan will take it left to right with Simpson.
Johns plays the inbound to Simpson. Now gives it to Johns in the half court. Off to DeJulius. DeJulius looking for a pass. Now Livers. Livers squares his hips, forced back ultimately. On the left side, Castleton setting the screen. Livers going to pull up for three after a lot of dribbling, and that is not going to go. Rebounded by Marcus Zagorowski. Zagorowski's going to drive, and Johns almost gets the swipe, but ultimately an easy drive and layup.
That's the high-octane offense that Creighton likes to run. No one stepped up to stop Zagorowski, and Juwan Howard's going to make a move. He's calling for John Teske off the bench.
Creighton within one, 20-19. Livers, another three. Got it.
Second possession of isolation, pure isolation for Livers. Makes that one count, though.
Now Zagorowski to Bishop. Zagorowski open for a moment, ultimately does not shoot. Zagorowski now to Damian Jefferson. Bishop at the top of the key. Now Sharif Mitchell back to Bishop. Zagorowski going to pull up for three and off the front of the rim. Rebounded by Brandon Johns as Xavier Simpson into the half court.
Zagorowski led the Big East in three-point percentage last year. Can't get it going tonight, though.
And off of what could be described as a very rudimentary double screen, DeJulius is going to pull up for three, and that's good.
That is a welcome sign for Michigan. A step-back three-pointer for David DeJulius. He's feeling confident early, and it is showing.
And Sharif Mitchell going to drive the hoop. He misses at the offensive rebound, gets the second chance, and Creighton's backcourt finally scores.
Certainly in the paint from Michigan, there's John Teske's absence while he's on the bench is sorely missed.
Oh dear, Kelvin Jones at the scorer's table for Creighton as Livers to DeJulius. DeJulius guarded by Zagorowski. DeJulius now going to try and drive on Jefferson. DeJulius for three again, and just off the front, Castleton there fighting for the rebound. Loose ball foul called on Colin Castleton. Maze Rage less than pleased.
If DeJulius had made that three and it was about halfway down, I think we would have no more roof on this building.
I don't see the foul.
I thought it was a good effort by Castleton going up to tip that ball twice, battling down low. He'll take a seat on the bench now.
And John Teske back in the game, along with Kelvin Jones for the Blue Jays.
We have the battle between Jones and Teske. Jones won it first time around in about 40 seconds of play.
He won it four times over as Zagorowski to Ballock. Now give to Tyshawn Alexander, who has returned to the game, and off the screen from Kelvin Jones. Jones is going to roll. Alexander's going to pull up from 7 feet, and that's going to go Tyshawn Alexander, his first points.
That's a hard shot by Alexander, but that's what good shooters do. They make those type of shots.
Alexander plays it quick, or Livers plays it quick to Simpson, and Simpson quick pass to Livers. Now DeJulius going to drive to Simpson on the right. Simpson, and Mitchell goes to ground. No charge called. Simpson for three. Good!
This place is erupting at these three-pointers. There was a bit of contact there. The crowd, I think, thought it was just a cross-up.
Kelvin Jones open for three, doesn't shoot it. Alexander now to Mitchell, and Mitchell has his pass tapped away by Xavier Simpson. Out of bounds. Creighton will keep possession, but here we are at the under 8 timeout. The score, Michigan 29, Creighton 23. Xavier Simpson and David DeJulius have combined for 3 of 4 from three-point land. That is a statement I never expected to make.
We ridiculed DeJulius pregame for his allegedly 21-point, 7 of 8 three-point performance in a close scrimmage against Detroit Mercy. He's showing us that stroke tonight, and the three guards, Brooks, DeJulius, Simpson, are brimming with confidence, and it is paying dividends on the scoreboard. Michigan up by 6 and playing very well so far tonight.
On the Creighton side, Mitch Ballock, 11 points, almost half of the Blue Jays' entire scoring output.
A lot of those points, though, for Ballock occurred very early in the game. Michigan shoring up their defense all around.
Indeed. Now, as the jersey cam plays here, I'm not sure what significance that holds at all, but either way, Kelvin Jones, we were correct. Kelvin Jones, in less than a minute of play, had 4 offensive rebounds, which is particularly impressive given that he is also giving 2 inches to his counterpart, John Teskey.
Yeah, we came into this game and focused on it in the opening. Thought that Michigan was going to feed it inside to Teskey all day long, much like they did in the beginning of the Appalachian State game. Instead, here we are with 7:18 left in the first, and John Teskey is yet to score, and it's Michigan's guards running the show. So you never know what's going to happen here. Michigan, though, it hasn't bothered them in the slightest. They are up by 6.
We do have a Jordan Poole Warriors jersey sighting here at the Crisler Center.
A custom-made Charles Matthews jersey as well.
I'll take that, as jersey cam still playing out. We have a Chris Webber jersey, as
and the kid with the original, or not original, standard #1 jersey wins the Jersey Mike's gift card.
Either way, Xavier Simpson now with 8 points leads the Wolverines in scoring 100% shooting from the field, 3 for 3, 2 for 2 from beyond the arc.
Yeah.
3 assists to go with that. His backcourt partner, David DeJulius, not an assist. He should have one were it not for an outstanding defensive play by Tyshawn Alexander.
Yeah, and then the flip side, whereas Michigan's guards are excelling, Creighton's are struggling. Sharif Mitchell, 1 of 5. Alexander is 1 of 3. Zagorowski, 1 of 5. Creighton usually gets a lot of offense out of those 3. Tonight, not so much, and that's why they're struggling, shooting just 42% from the field. Michigan at 61% and 54%, 7 of 13 from beyond the arc.
And Creighton's players are out on the court. They want the commercial break to be over. I really want the commercial break to be over.
Yeah, we had some good game action. The crowd was getting into it. It was flowing well. Immediate timeouts, though, disrupt everything.
Disrupted Michigan's flow and their momentum. The under 8 timeout was some strategery on the part of Creighton.
Yep.
As Tyshawn Alexander going to stand to deliver the inbound. Neither team making any substitutions. And Alexander to Sharif Mitchell off the off-ball screen. Mitchell going to move give and go with Mitch Ballock. And Zagorowski to Ballock. Ballock loses the ball, almost stripped by Johns. Ballock for a 3, hand in his face, airballs it, rebound by DeJulius.
Great defense by Johns, stretched to the perimeter, yet doing a stellar job.
And the Maze Rage letting Ballock know what he did, and Simpson off the screen from Teskey, and into Teskey, and the slam for John Teskey. Excellent pick and roll.
Xavier Simpson, John Teskey, the pick and roll just like old times. Beautiful setup there.
Now Kelvin Jones going to give it to Zagorowski. Now back to Jones. Jones going to post up against Teskey. Jones, I'm not sure what that was, but either way he recovers.
I don't think Jones should try doing that again.
And gives it out to Tyshawn Alexander off the screen. Alexander's going to try and drive. Alexander, the fadeaway, no good. And he's going to get his rebound, though, and Alexander's going to go up, and Creighton is going to score.
Just brushed right off Teskey's hand, and with Teskey out of the paint trying to corral the rebound, Alexander caught it in stride, rolled toward an empty lane, and laid it up and in.
Simpson taking it easy. Teskey's pass intercepted by Ballock. Ballock's going to drive. Alexander goes up. And a little mini run for the Blue Jays guard, the junior from Charlotte, as Michigan taking the quick inbound. Simpson going to slow it down again. Sharif Mitchell has been tenacious in guarding the senior from Ohio. And another interception for Alexander. Brooks in pursuit. Alexander ultimately the easy layup, though, as Creighton almost all the way back. 31-29 Michigan. Juwan Howard is going to call a timeout.
After that pick and roll between Simpson and Teskey, you have miscommunication on behalf of both of them. Teskey thought Simpson was running back door, instead found a Creighton player. Simpson tried to whip a cross-court pass over his shoulder, found Alexander again, and Michigan can ill afford to let Tyshawn Alexander get going. We highlighted him early. He is their best player. They had bottled him up until about a minute ago, where all of a sudden he has 6 straight points in 33 seconds for the Blue Jays.
And Indeed, a 6-0 run in the last 33 seconds for Creighton. All of that Tyshawn Alexander, as 5:45 left in the first half. Michigan holding on for dear life to a 31-29 lead as the Blue Jays finally on a hot run of their own.
Yeah, the 8-point lead evaporated very quickly after that Teskey dunk. Michigan will roll out their three small guard lineup here. Simpson, Brooks, and DeJulius sharing the floor.
Juwan Howard's instructions probably amounted to little more than, yeah, you know those overhead behind passes that you just tried to do? Don't do those.
Yes.
As Simpson off the give and go from Brooks. Simpson into Teskey again. And that was not a pick and roll, but the same result.
I think Juwan Howard said, let's try that Simpson-Teskey play again, and it worked again.
Sharif Mitchell going to drive, and Sharif Mitchell fouled by Xavier Simpson. We have the first foul on the floor by a defensive player in the game.
Yeah, it's been a rather crisp game, moving pretty quickly. Besides those media timeouts, DeJulius takes his seat. He played well. Isaiah Livers back in.
Isaiah Livers returning to the game. The inbound played to Tyshawn Alexander from Sharif Mitchell. Alexander to Mitch Ballock.
Michigan's got a 2-3 zone going here.
As now it's back to Zagorowski. Mitchell, Zagorowski, Creighton. Nobody wants to shoot. 6 seconds left. Alexander, 3 seconds left. Alexander, the long three, and that is good.
And Alexander has finally gotten going. Deep three-pointer, heavily contested. Livers and Simpson both there. Shot clock winding down.
11 points for Tyshawn Alexander. Simpson back to basket. Now back to Teskey, to Livers. Off the screen from Teskey. Livers to Brooks. Brooks overhead pass to Teskey. Teskey trapped. Back to Livers. Livers back to Brandon Johns at the corner. Off the side of the rim. Rebounded by Tyshawn Alexander, who is the man of the last couple minutes. As remind you, you're listening to 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor. Prison avoided for another 30 minutes.
There we go. And an air ball for Alexander.
I think that was a block as Brooks gives it off to Livers. Now back to Brooks. Eli Brooks going to pull up from 18 feet. That's not going to go. Teskey almost got the tip in, but the rebound by Zagorowski. Sharif Mitchell guarded by Simpson. Mitchell's going to go at the basket. That's not going to go. And a contested rebound out of bounds. Michigan basketball. Now, Jared, answer something for me here.
Yes.
That whole exchange, like really since the previous timeout, Kelvin Jones, you know, is prone to fouling. Why don't you attack him at every conceivable possibility?
They tried to do it only once, I saw, with Teskey, but he was quickly doubled and had to get rid of it.
Either way, the opportunity's gone. Jones is on the bench again. Simpson back to Brooks as Isaiah Livers at the left on the left three-point line. Now it's Johns back to Livers. Livers, a long three-pointer, air balls out of bounds.
Michigan was trying to feed Teskey there, but Christian Bishop, despite having 6 inches less than Teskey in terms of height, walled him off nicely. And Michigan, for whatever reason, didn't drive inside, and Livers opted for a very long three that turned out poorly.
And the under 4 timeout has arrived here. 3:42 left in the first half. Michigan still hanging on for dear life, 33-32, but Creighton will have the ball as we have the shootout.
This is my personal favorite activity. He nails the layup.
As the free throw, that first shot didn't work. That second shot wasn't any better. Is 3 the charm? Yes, it is.
He's heaving the ball up there.
Now the 3. They should make the shootouts shoot from the women's three-point line. The difference is negligible, but come on. As
he doesn't have a shot.
Does that ball that he just shot have a price tag on it?
It did.
That is awesome. As there we go.
He got it.
He got it. He's wearing 23, too.
With the ugliest successful shooting form you will see. He's rocking a Karis LeVert jersey as well.
Do we count Lonzo Ball's shooting as successful?
No. Lonzo Ball didn't win a Meyer shootout contest.
What about Sean Marion? His shot was pretty weird.
Semi-successful.
He's an NBA champion and one of the better basketball players of the last 20 years.
The shot was semi-successful.
Okay, that's fair. As hold on, the sousaphones are on the court. This is the one thing that I will say basketball does very well. I appreciate the sousaphone players running around on the floor.
Yes. I did not notice that last game. We've got 8 of them out there.
I did not play the sousaphone. I was not in band. I was in orchestra in high school. But I have talked to people who are sousaphone players. That is hard.
Big instrument to lug around.
You got to have really strong shoulders for it. As Tyshawn Alexander now at 11 points, leading the Blue Jays, or co-leading with Mitch Ballock in scoring. Isaiah Livers on the other side with 11. 3 players leading the entire game with 11 points.
Another stat that jumps out at me when just taking a quick look at the box score here is the rebound advantage. 19-9 in favor of Creighton, and the Blue Jays, thanks to our guy Kelvin Jones, have 9 offensive rebounds to Michigan's 0.
And 19 rebounds total to Michigan's 9, as Michigan has as many defensive rebounds as Creighton does offensive.
And yet here we are, and the Wolverines have a 1-point lead.
Yeah, 56.5 shooting percentage will do it. But last note on the Meyer shootout, 2 years ago, former WCBN member Alec Geese did the Meyer shootout. He didn't get past the free throw.
Free throws are tough. At least he got the layup, though.
He got the layup on the first try. I was very hopeful. But
we've got Creighton again coming out of the timeout much quicker. Juwan Howard deliberating for much longer than his counterpart, Greg McDermott.
Well, with the current game flow, Juwan Howard's probably got a lot more to say.
Yes.
As Damian Jefferson, hands on hips, waiting for everything to be okay. Michigan finally gets their seats off the floor as that god-awful buzzer sounds. There's going to be a second.
We'll see
because, of course.
We'll see how Michigan can handle this stint here. Xavier Simpson not on the floor.
Ooh, no second buzzer. As Jefferson gives it to Zagorowski. David DeJulius, as you said, playing the 1 right now for Michigan. Zagorowski going to hold it for a little bit, gives it to Jefferson. 18 seconds left on the shot clock. Jefferson off the screen to Ballock. Now give and go with Zagorowski. Zagorowski going to drive to the free throw line, and Zagorowski's going to pull up, and that one is going to bounce a little bit before falling in. Creighton has the lead, 34-33. Eli Brooks on the right side, going to give it to Teske. Teske give and go with Brooks. Brooks at the top. Brooks looking for a lane, gives it to Livers. That ball tipped away out of bounds. Michigan basketball. Great defensive play by Damian Jefferson.
Michigan's offense has fallen stagnant. The crowd at Crisler has fallen silent.
As Brooks going to stand to deliver the inbound, gives it to Teske. Now to Johns. Johns to DeJulius. DeJulius for 3, and off the back of the rim, but Brandon Johns going to draw the loose ball foul.
Johns flying in there from the left side to the left block to fight for that elusive offensive rebound. Didn't get it, but a foul will grant Michigan possession again.
As Isaiah Livers going to take the inbound this time, and clock is ticking. Livers going to play it long back to Eli Brooks. 20 seconds on the shot clock. Brooks going to drive. Brooks the hook shot, and that's going to go. Brooks has more hook shots on the season than Xavier Simpson.
Looks like someone's been learning.
As Zagorowski's going to drive all the way. Ballock passes up the open 3. Now Alexander, and wide open 3 buried by the junior North Carolinian.
Alexander, a 37% three-point shooter.
North Carolinian, I think, would be more accurate. That might be confused with the Carolingian Empire in Germany in the 1300s, but that's beside the point.
If they know what that is.
As Eli Brooks back to Isaiah Livers. Now Brooks again. 37-35 Creighton. Overhead pass to Teske. Teske going to post up against Bishop. Teske goes up, and how does that not go in? Rebounded by Ballock. That ball went all the way around the rim.
Unfriendly rim there.
Alexander for 3, and rebounded by David DeJulius.
Bit of a heat check.
DeJulius going to push the tempo, forced back by Bishop. Teske going to set the screen. DeJulius going to drive, gets it back out to Eli Brooks. Brooks can't really do anything with it. 18 seconds on the shot clock. Brooks trapped, baseline, Johns. Now DeJulius going to drive again. DeJulius through the legs to Teske, and Teske is fouled.
DeJulius all game biting, forcing the Creighton players to bite and just using his quick first step to drive by him. Sets up Teske there, who is just hammered across the face.
That pass was that pass to Teske was through Christian Bishop's legs.
And both Bishop and Jefferson clobbered Teske. I saw more Bishop on the replay, but it'll go to Jefferson.
And Teskey's first free throw is good. Michigan can tie the score up with Teskey's second free throw. Kelvin Jones back in the game, as well as Xavier Simpson. Is Colin Castleton going to return? He is at the scorer's table, but nobody has come out.
Michigan's got 4 players not named Teskey meeting right now at the M at midcourt.
Looks like Castleton will not come in at this present moment. Teskey, second free throw, misses, and now the problems rear their heads again. Another rebound for Kelvin Jones, his first defensive rebound.
To go with 4 on the offensive glass, or 5.
Zegarowski to Jefferson. Minute and a half left in the first half. And ball lock to Tyshawn Alexander, guarded by Simpson off the screen from Jones. Alexander's going to drive, and that ball is up in the air. Another foul called. I believe that one is also charged to Xavier Simpson.
Simpson's got his hands on his hips there. Teskey reacted in disgust as well. Castleton trying to come in. Now the buzzer sounds.
Castleton was going to sub for Teskey's substitution. Couldn't do it because Teskey was at the free throw line.
And when Teskey missed that second free throw, there was no opportunity.
As the inbound to Jefferson. Jefferson off to Jones. Jones, come on, Jones, shoot from the free throw line. Zegarowski's going to do it instead, and that's going to go. 39-36, the score in Creighton's favor. As Xavier Simpson going to play the inbound from Isaiah Livers. Now Eli Brooks. Brooks to Simpson. Simpson going to move off to the center. Simpson's going to drive. Castleton, the easy layup. Kelvin Jones exploited, but Jones is down and he's hurt.
Our vision was obstructed a bit by the basket. Not sure what happened to Jones on that play. It was a beautiful wraparound pass by Simpson. Got Jones in the air a bit, it seems, and Jones hurt himself on the fall.
Jones, from what we can see, he rolled over a little bit. Looked like he was holding his stomach. He may just have the wind knocked out of him, but Crisler Center either way, very quiet. Nobody's freaking out, so you figure it's nothing too serious, but Greg McDermott's going to call his team over.
Stomach or perhaps an arm maybe for Jones, who has played very well for Creighton this far. He's got 5 offensive rebounds, 6 total, just 6 minutes. He's given John Teskey fits on the offensive glass.
As Jones still down on the ground. Crisler Center very, very quiet.
Eerily quiet so far.
It always amazes me how quiet this stadium is capable of getting.
Certainly.
As Kelvin Jones still down.
Again, we cannot see, right?
We can't see. I can see his legs.
So his legs are not his problem.
I don't see any bones sticking out. This is not a Gordon Hayward.
Sits up from first glance. His left arm, his right arm, perhaps his wrist.
As the applause, Jones going to stand up, and
I think it's his right wrist.
Yeah, we're seeing wrist here. Is that wrapping on his left upper arm new, or was that there at the start? Can't tell.
Don't know. That was there at the start, yes. The attention, medical attention, as Jones sits on the chair at the Creighton bench seems to be on his left arm/wrist.
Either way, 60 seconds left. Christian Bishop back in for Kelvin Jones. Zegarowski going to slow it down as 39-38 Creighton. DeJulius guarding Zegarowski, and Zegarowski is taking forever. No Blue Jay is moving. And the tipped pass, 10 seconds left. Castleton almost got himself a steal. Zegarowski's going to drive the alley-oop to Bishop, and that wasn't the cleanest alley-oop you'll ever see, but it was successful. 30 seconds left. Creighton will have the last possession unless they foul.
Almost a volleyball tap in there for Bishop, showcasing some athleticism.
Eli Brooks standing at the top of the key, guarded by Tyshawn Alexander. And now Brooks takes the quick give and go. Brooks goes up and misses. Rebound Zegarowski. Creighton's got 7 seconds. Zegarowski going to push tempo. Zegarowski, ball lock, long three. That's not going to go, but rebounded by Alexander. Alexander, can he beat the buzzer? No. And that is the end of the first half.
Frantic end to the first half.
The score, Creighton 41, Michigan 38. Michigan led by as much as 8, but really the last 5 minutes of the half, all Blue Jays.
Yeah, it's a game, if you look just by shooting percentage, Michigan outshooting Creighton by 9%. You're wondering, why are the Wolverines down by 3 at halftime? Well, after extending a lead to 8 points, they let the Blue Jays do what they do best, get out in transition and run and knock down a few threes. Creighton also dominating Michigan on the glass, 23 rebounds to 10. And here we are at halftime. Juwan Howard's going to have to go through some adjustments. There were a lot of positives in that first half. Guard play, Isaiah Livers, yet the negatives outweighing the positives. Michigan down by 3.
And Tyshawn Alexander, best player on the court so far tonight, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists.
It took Alexander a while to get going, and that's why Michigan was having success. But then when he did, we see why he was such a good player last year for this team. Honorable mention, all Big East. And he has 6 of 12 tonight in 18 minutes.
As Tyshawn Alexander also has a block and 2 steals on the defensive end against only 1 turnover, as we have a wheelchair basketball game between the Army and the Navy. As Isaiah Livers still leading the Wolverines in scoring with 11 points, but Michigan largely went cold at the end of the first half, and we will stay with you over the duration of halftime because we want to stay on air because we don't want to go to federal prison.
Yes. And
somewhere along in the process, Evan Oesterle and Daniel Thompson will hop on the broadcast, and they will be with you the rest of the way.
Yeah, for Michigan, you mentioned, Nick, that they went cold. Xavier Simpson checked out with about 3 minutes left in the half, was out for about a minute and a half. Michigan mustered little offense during that time, but their struggles began before that. Right after that huge Simpson pick-and-roll pass to Teskey, who rolled to the rim for the dunk, a thunderous dunk. The struggles began right after that. There was some sloppy passing. Juwan Howard called a timeout, and yet it didn't really stop the bleeding.
Indeed, Michigan, as you said, embarrassed on the offensive glass. 10 offensive rebounds for the Blue Jays to Michigan 0. And even if Creighton did not rebound a single ball offensively, they would still have the rebound advantage, 13-10, just on defensive rebounds.
It's surprising, those numbers, especially with Michigan having John Teskey as a wall inside and Creighton not having a player who can match his height nor come close to it. And yet the Wolverines are trailing by that large a number in the rebound category. Certainly something that shouldn't be happening.
Well, the Blue Jays playing tenaciously on the glass, and Kelvin Jones is a weapon. Defense is a weapon on the offensive glass, but John Teskey has let a few rebound opportunities go through his hands.
Yeah, they've got to get Teskey going on the offensive end as well. They've got to find him the ball down low. Then Creighton can choose how they want to handle it. If they just want to play one-on-one, hopefully Teskey can capitalize and convert. If they want to bring a double, you've got to trust Teskey to pass it around and find the open shooter. Michigan's been shooting well so far. We've seen Adrian Nunez, David DeJulius, Xavier Simpson, Livers, virtually everyone knock down a three-pointer.
And something that should be monitored in the second half is the status of Kelvin Jones. He went down with an injury at the end of the first half. It looked like it was his wrist, but we're not sure.
Yeah,
so it will be interesting to see if he gets any time in the second half.
Jones was playing very well. You hope he's okay. Battling down low with Teskey, holding his own.
Michigan, despite their offensive struggles at the end of the half, shooting quite well, shooting 53.6% from the field, 43.8% from three. Something interesting of note, and this is a credit to both teams, very clean basketball. Only 2 free throws were attempted all half, and both of those were John Teskey, and he made 1.
Also, turnover-wise, a clean basketball game, and that's a bit of an oddity for two teams that like to run the pace. We've seen a bit less pace running, pushing the tempo for Michigan than we did in that first game against Appalachian State and the scrimmage against Saginaw Valley State. They're slowing it down a bit tonight, but still, clean game. Michigan only with 4 turnovers, 2 by Simpson, 1 by Teskey, 1 by Brooks. And the turnovers didn't really come till late in the half, and that's what bit them and led in part to their downfall. And that's the reason why they're losing at half, trailing by 3 points, 41-38 to the Creighton Blue Jays.
As now 10 minutes left before the start of the second half. And as you said, guard play really was impressive for Michigan in the first half. David DeJulius, 5 points, which is his career high if you don't include the alleged 22.
Yeah, the three main guards for Michigan are playing with a lot of confidence. Brooks, DeJulius, Simpson. Perhaps they could give John Teskey and the bigs some of that same confidence down low.
Eli Brooks with 4 points on 2 for 5 shooting. Xavier Simpson leading the backcourt offensively with 8 points. Although something to note, Xavier Simpson does have 2 fouls. And that may be something to monitor later on. But Simpson, never a player known to commit lots of fouls, so it will remain to be seen how Juwan Howard manages his starting point guard.
Simpson did a really nice job on Tyshawn Alexander for about 75% of that first half, and then wasn't entirely Simpson's fault, more of a team effort that led Alexander. It started in transition, then transformed into behind the arc to get going and catch fire and lead this Creighton comeback.
As halftime still ongoing, as once again, we'd like to thank you for listening to WCBN Sports coverage of Michigan basketball, and Nick Hornburg and Jared Greenspan, who will be with you at maybe the next 60 seconds before we do the transition, as the Juwan Howard era finally off to a start in Ann Arbor, with the Wolverines taking a gamble on the former Fab 5 basketball player. Well, forget I said that. That never happened. As the former Wolverine Juwan Howard getting his first ever head coaching job following his retirement from the NBA, spent 8 seasons as an assistant coach at the Miami Heat.
Yeah, Howard well seasoned, and for Howard's Wolverines, he'll learn quickly, if he hasn't already, that non-conference opportunities and chances to make a statement are very important when it comes to March. And the selection committee is comparing NCAA tournament resumes, and this is a very crucial one for Michigan to hopefully pull out of their hat here against Creighton. Their non-conference schedule the rest of the way is formidable and challenging, and so this game is certainly a one that they'd like to have.
The Michigan roster somewhat depleted after some what I would call unexpected draft declarations to the NBA last season. Charles Matthews, everyone knew was leaving, but Ignas Brazdeikis, less people thought he would. Jordan Poole, even less people thought he would.
Yep, the challenge for this team is to find that scoring, replacing that scoring. Certainly a lot of the buzz presumed it was going to come out of Franz Wagner. He's out with the wrist injury. Who else is going to provide it? We haven't really been given an answer so far. Eli Brooks had a tremendous game against Appalachian State tonight. More of a mixed, a balanced effort.
Indeed, as we are going to transition the air now. It will be Daniel Thompson who will step on for Jared Greenspan. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Nick.
So, that was a half.
That was the first half where Michigan was who I thought they were.
Okay,
depth
Dennis.
still very much an issue.
As I will now exit and hand off to Evan Oesterle. Evan and Daniel will bring you the second half, and they will do the station ID in 6 minutes because federal prison is bad.
Nick, we're not sure what the FCC's punishment is if we don't station identify every half hour, but we don't know that it's not federal prison, so we will continue to say it diligently as if we are afraid of going to federal prison. So, which I think that's a good reason to do anything, avoid federal prison.
About 6.5 minutes until the second half starts as we debate whether or not it's good to avoid federal prison. I'm Evan Oesterle alongside Daniel Thompson. We'll be with you the rest of the way. Michigan trails Creighton 41-38 at halftime. Some non-college basketball news, the college football playoff rankings.
Speaking of people who maybe deserve federal prison, the CFP committee.
Daniel is very anti-college football playoff committee, anti-college football playoff structure. LSU, the new number
BCS.
1. No surprise.
BCS.
Ohio State falls 1 spot to number 2. Georgia jumps Clemson, moves up to number 3. Clemson number 4. Followed by Alabama at 5 and Oregon at 6. Daniel, what are your thoughts on the newest college football playoff rankings?
Why? So Clemson slides up to 3, Georgia 4, as I'm seeing it here reported by ESPN. But
I think Georgia jumping Clemson is the biggest surprise here.
Did they? ESPN is reporting to me that Clemson is ahead of Georgia.
That's not what I saw.
Well, you saw screenshots of the actual presentation, right? So that I'm inclined to believe that. Yeah, that's confusing me right now too. But Minnesota only at 8. I think everyone saw that coming. But my question is why? Alabama was good enough for 3 with exactly one top 50 win against a mediocre A&M team.
So my question for the committee would be, how much does Minnesota move up if they beat Iowa this week? How much more do they move up if they beat Wisconsin the last week of the regular season?
Yeah, of course, Minnesota controls their own destiny in the sense that if they win out, they are for sure in the college football playoff and should be number 2 behind LSU if they do win out. However, things are certainly approaching a point where with Alabama being the home team and losing and never having the lead in that game, they are approaching a point where Minnesota could, a Big Ten non-conference champion could certainly get in as a second Big Ten team. The Big Ten could field 2 teams, whether that's by Penn State beating Ohio State here in a couple of weeks. I don't know what the exact scenario is, but I think it's even Wisconsin, I think, could maybe win the Big Ten, get some help from Iowa, and then maybe Ohio State's the second Big Ten team in.
You think Wisconsin with 2 losses has a chance?
If Iowa beats Minnesota, Wisconsin then wins out, including beating Ohio State, I think both Ohio State and Wisconsin find themselves in. With help.
I think that Illinois loss is disqualifying.
Illinois is okay. Illinois is okay. But it's a better loss than Georgia at home. Losing at Illinois is a better loss.
It's still only one loss that Georgia has.
But South Carolina's going 4-8.
But it's still only one loss.
Sure, but at Ohio State's the best loss possible. Now, the fashion they lost is different, but they can completely amend that off. That's off their slate.
We also have the precedent that the committee loves the SEC.
Yes.
So they'd happily put in 3 SEC teams before 2 Big Ten teams.
Minnesota at 8 is only a problem for them if Utah, Oregon, and Oklahoma all have a second loss. Assume Baylor does not win the Big 12. If all those things happen, then Minnesota should be furious about their rankings. Because if they give Ohio State a game, as I think they can, because against a very good Penn State defense, they still had a 67% passing success rate. That is something that translates extremely well, especially indoors in Indianapolis in December. I think they can put up points against Ohio State and score on most of their possessions, have a respectable score. It's time for Minnesota to start getting angry about those rankings, because that could prevent their backdoor route to the playoff. That might cut that off and might award it to. Can Georgia get it if they have 2 losses? I don't know. If they play LSU really tight, maybe they get in with 2 losses. I don't know. But that's just stuff to ponder about. We're about to get back to basketball here.
Shift back to basketball.
Michigan's 15, by the way. I don't think we've said that. That's what you're really interested in, probably. That was foreseeable. They weren't going to jump Penn State or Minnesota. Didn't do anything on the bye.
Still 1 spot ahead of 16 Notre Dame, 1 spot behind 14 Wisconsin.
So transitive property holds there. That's all fine. I have no issue with that. But
some basketball scores from around the country. In Big Ten country, Indiana leads North Alabama by 1.
Whoa.
10 minutes left in the first half. 17-16 Indiana. Another tight one. Number 1 Kentucky trailing Evansville 20-16 with 8 minutes left in the first half. You would expect both Indiana and Kentucky to pull those games out. Duke off to a big lead early, up 29-6 against Central Arkansas. 9 minutes left in the first half there. Back to our game. We've got just over a minute and a half left until the second half starts. Michigan trailing 41-38. Leading scorers from the first half. Isaiah Livers had 11 for the Wolverines. Alexander with 14 for Creighton. And Mitch Ballack, 11 points. He scored just 4 in the opener, but 11 points, made 3 3-pointers in the first half. What does Michigan have to do on both ends to get back in front in this game? They did lead for the majority of the first half, but trailing in the locker room.
Not that it was an issue in the first half, but if they get into foul trouble, particularly between Teskey, Livers, and Simpson, this game I think is just about over. They need that depth. I think Juwan Howard did a good job resting them minimally, but he probably is going to have to ask for a few more minutes out of them in this half. Either that or the depth players will have to step up. Eli Brooks has continued to shoot well when he is just doing that shooting. Missed a pretty easy layup at the end of the half. That is part of the reason why Creighton's up 3 rather than 1. That either the depth players are going to have to stand up better, or Michigan's going to have to ask the maximal number of minutes out of their best starters, because the depth has not looked great so far. I believe we only saw 1 shot out of Brandon Johns. It was a 3-pointer that looked fine, hit the inside of the rim, and ricocheted out. I'm fine with him taking more shots, but we saw that David DeJulius hit a three-pointer, but Castleton looked especially rough, just does not have the muscle build yet to have the physicality that John Teskey plays with. Fouls are not really going to take part of this game unless something radically changes. So Michigan is going to have to get more out of their starters or have one role player step up. Yeah, you mentioned just 6 combined fouls in the first half. The only player with 2, Xavier Simpson for the Wolverines. You are listening to 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor. This is a WCBN Sports presentation of Michigan men's basketball facing off with Creighton. Michigan trails 41-38 as we get started in the second half. I'm Evan Oesterle alongside Daniel Thompson. We will be with you the rest of the way. Indeed, Simpson, the only player in really any real foul trouble this game, and that's still a bit of a stretch, but he could get an early foul here, and that would put Michigan in a whole lot of trouble. When his absence was badly felt last year with Jordan Poole no longer here as probably the most talented offensive guard player outside of Simpson. Certainly, I think Poole's more talented, but Simpson's a more well-fleshed-out player. When Poole could at least pick up the offensive production in the backcourt when Simpson was gone. He's no longer here. Brooks is really just a catch-and-shoot type guy. It will be big here as Michigan is about to set up for the inbound. Nunez gets it and delivers. It's back to the starting lineups for both teams. For the Wolverines, Xavier Simpson, Isaiah Livers. We've got a quick foul, it looks like, or maybe something wrong with the clock. Xavier Simpson, Isaiah Livers, Adrian Nunez, Eli Brooks, and John Teskey for the Wolverines. And for Creighton, they've got Tyshawn Alexander, along with Mitch Ballack, Christian Bishop, Marcus Zagorowski. That is how we will start the second half as Simpson works on the left wing, gets a screen from Teskey, tries to get it back to Teskey, lost it out of bounds, it'll be back the other way. Crucial turnover, though Michigan didn't do a wonderful job protecting the ball in the first half, but nothing bad either. It was a pretty run-of-the-mill half for them possessions-wise. The real issue was all the offensive rebounds they conceded to Creighton that gave Creighton more possessions and ultimately the lead in the first half. Ballack working against Nunez. Ballack drives to the rim. Tough layup attempt, no good. Simpson comes up with it. Michigan gets out on the break quickly. Simpson will pull it back now and set up the offense. And you see how much Teskey's size helps there guarding Bishop from the ball. Simpson in, and a great finish at the rim. Cuts the lead down to 140 as we tick down to 19 minutes to go. Mitchell now for Creighton working against Simpson. Alexander into the lane. Floater tips it up. No good. Bishop tried to tip it in on a sort of alley-oop attempt. Now Simpson back quickly the other way. Another layup, and it's good. Michigan leads 42-41. Xavier Simpson with the transition layup. And this is really a lineup that does not favor Creighton. We saw their big man go down, and really the only one with the size to match Teskey in the first half. We don't know if he'll be back in this one, Kelvin Jones. But they really do not like the size matchup right now with Teskey stealing all those boards on the defensive side. Zagorowski working against Nunez. Now dumps it down low. No good. Teskey comes up with it. Bishop, again, as you said, just completely oversized, overpowered. Simpson quickly to Nunez. Now to Livers in the corner, and Michigan will reset. Yep, Teskey continues to bully Bishop. We'll see if he can do so on the offensive side of the court here. Simpson gives to Teskey. Now back to Simpson. Working down about 10 seconds on the shot clock. Swings it out to Livers. Livers drives in against Alexander. Pull-up jumper. Mid-ranger is good. Isaiah Livers hits it. Michigan leads by 3, 44-41. 18 minutes to go now in the second half. I question if that was the best shot selection there from Livers, but it went in. And a great feed from the big man Bishop to a cutting Alexander backdoor pass, and it's a layup for Creighton, 44-43 now. And Creighton did exactly what they wanted there. They got Teskey away from the rim, and then all of a sudden there was a lane allowing Creighton to get back in this one and cut Michigan's lead to 1. Simpson dribbling up top as some picks are set, and Simpson loses the ball now. Tough defense from Mitchell. Going to get a screen from Teskey. Simpson into the lane. Tough finish at the rim again. Xavier Simpson, his third layup already of the half. As we've got some kind of stoppage. I'm not sure why Creighton's allowed to sub right there. And Calvin Jones is going to come back into the game. Creighton's 6'11" senior. He's the one player with real size on their roster that plays. And McDermott watched Teskey absolutely dominate Bishop for the first 2.5 minutes of the second half and went to his bench. Yep, I think that is probably combined with Simpson's offense. That is the singular. Those are the two reasons why Michigan is winning right now. up 3 at this point. We saw how Michigan's offense just died when Simpson struggled against Appalachian State. His resurgence plus Teskey's dominance have been the 2 reasons Michigan has been winning games this year.
Alexander into the lane. Tip by Teskey off of Jones. It'll be Michigan ball back the other way. Kelvin Jones in the first half had 5 offensive rebounds. Creighton as a team had 10 offensive rebounds. Michigan had none.
Yep, that was pivotal. And right there we see Teskey is able to win the battle even against the evenly matched Kelvin Jones.
Simpson swings to Nunez. Nunez guarded closely by Zagorowski. Now back up top, Simpson getting a screen from Teskey. Simpson working along the baseline, swings it across. Nunez, a quick 3, no good. Jones the rebound. It'll be Mitchell back the other way for Creighton.
And Nunez has to hit those 3s. That's why he's on the court.
Zagorowski drives into the lane, gonna throw it back out for Mitchell. Mitchell guarded by Xavier Simpson. Swings it outside now, Zagorowski guarded by Nunez. Gets a screen from Jones. Give and go with Jones. Mid-ranger is good for Zagorowski, and Creighton cuts the lead back down to 1.
That was one of the only empty possessions all half, I think, for Michigan so far. One of the few missed shots. They started with the turnover and then hit their next 4 shots, so we'll see if Michigan's offense can stay red hot.
Xavier Simpson with a double screen from Brooks, and Teskey now swings it back to Brooks for 3. No good, off a double bounce off the rim. Zagorowski comes back the other way quickly, blows by Isaiah Livers, and blocked by Isaiah Livers at the rim. What a defensive play. Zagorowski initially got by him, and then Isaiah Livers swatted it off the backboard. We're going to hit the under 16 media timeout. Michigan leads 46-45, 15:57 to go in the second half. And what have you seen in these first 4 minutes from both teams?
John Teskey continues to just be dominant here. He and Simpson on the 2 extreme ends of the court are just Michigan's most pivotal players. I think really any Michigan fan could have told you that after the exodus of talent for the NBA draft with Matthews, Ignas Brazdeikis, and Jordan Poole leaving last year. Livers is really the only other major contributor from the team still around this year. Franz Wagner, of course, his return is still highly awaited. He's probably another week or 2 away from his return, but Michigan's 2 best players continue to dominate this one and are why Michigan is up. I think Creighton will see dividends with substituting in Kelvin Jones for Christian Bishop, but for the time being, it has not quite provided the spark they need just yet. They're only down 1, though, so I'd be surprised if this game does not come down to the end.
It's been a close game all the way. Michigan has led for the majority of it. They've led for 13:41. Creighton has led for 6:40. It's been tied for 3:42, but a ton of lead changes here. Both teams want to shoot the ball. Both teams have shot the ball fairly well. Michigan from behind the arc, 7 of 18. Creighton, 5 of 13. Creighton just 4 fast break points, so Michigan's limited their ability to run, and Creighton is a team that likes to get out in transition and run the fast break.
So we'll see if maybe Kelvin Jones can match John Teskey. He did a great job in the first half with those 5 rebounds. This is actually only his second game for the Creighton Blue Jays. Was a junior at Idaho State last year. His hometown is listed as Chihuahua, Mexico. So that's a bit of a surprising hometown for Jones, but he's made quite the route to Omaha, Nebraska, a city that maybe Michigan got familiar with this summer going to the College World Series, but he took the very interesting route. Only spent 1 year at Idaho State. Before that was at Odessa College in Division II. And before that was at UTEP. So he picks one school a year. He's seeing the country. Very interesting route for him. He redshirted as a freshman at UTEP, so he spent 2 years there. So I think this is his last year. This should be his last year. No. So he has 1 more year of eligibility. He should be back. I think he'll be back for Creighton next year, but who knows? Maybe he'll take off and play for Cal of all teams. Who knows? He transfers every year, but
he's likely to play quite a bit for this Creighton team. Their starting lineup, the tallest player is 6'7". That's Christian Bishop, who's struggled against John Teskey today. If they can give Kelvin Jones more minutes, it would go a long way for them. Jones has 7 rebounds. Their leader by far. The team has 26, out-rebounding Michigan 26-13. Not great for the Wolverines, especially with big man John Teskey. Teskey has 6 rebounds. The rest of the team combined has 7. So Michigan getting killed on the glass, especially in the defensive glass, just not able to box out Kelvin Jones, big Kelvin Jones. It'll be Creighton ball trailing by 1, 15:57 to go in this one. David DeJulius checked in for the Wolverines, checked in for Adrian Nunez. And for Creighton, Damian Jefferson checked into the game. Nope, that was their only sub. Damian Jefferson checked in the game for Sharif Mitchell. So it'll be Zagorowski up top, guarded by Brooks. Now swings it over to Alexander. Looks like Michigan's now playing a 3-2 zone. Long three from Ballack, no, but Jones comes up with another offensive board, and Jones gets the putback.
And do you think Ballack's going to get the assist on that one?
I don't know if they'll count that as an assist or a shot attempt. Either way, it didn't hit anything besides Jones's hands. Simpson gets a screen from Teskey. Now backdoor cut from DeJulius. Swings it out to Brooks in the corner for three. Eli Brooks hits it. Michigan goes back in front, 49-47.
And he was left wide open.
A good pass from Simpson to a cutting DeJulius, then swung it to the corner for Brooks. And as you said, wide open for that three. And now a foul on Brooks at the other end as Alexander started his drive, got kind of hip checked by Brooks. That's Eli Brooks' first foul for either team in the second half.
And I've really loved how they've called this game. It's been a lot thanks to the players. They've played pretty clean, but this has been a very quick-moving game, very few interruptions from the officials.
We were talking in the first half about how John Beeline's teams were always near the top of the country in least fouls per game, and it'll be interesting to see if Juwan Howard's teams carry that same identity. As Alexander gets in the lane, mid-range jumper, no good. David DeJulius comes up with the rebound. He pushes it down the court. DeJulius swings it cross court to Simpson. Simpson drives into the lane, lobs it up for Teskey, and John Teskey, the alley-oop. Michigan goes up by 4, 14:45 to go. It is Teskey time at Crisler. John Teskey finishes the alley-oop. He's got 7 and 6.
Yep, as he approaches maybe his second double-double of the season, it has been Teskey time the whole time in this early season in Ann Arbor.
Alexander working against Brooks, gets a screen from Jones, 10 on the shot clock, pulls up in the mid-range again, no good. Jones battling for it, and Jones comes up with it. Got knocked out of bounds off Jones by Xavier Simpson. A great heads-up play by Xavier Simpson, although it should be noted that Jones did come up with another offensive rebound.
And I cannot speak highly enough about the defense Michigan has played in this second half. Creighton scored 41 in the first. We're on pace for a very uncharacteristic 82 for a Michigan opponent. Michigan has really clamped down, only surrendering 6 in the first 6 minutes of this second half. And it's not just been bad shooting by Creighton. Michigan is allowing very few quality shots.
Great adjustment by Juwan Howard and his staff, and Xavier Simpson and Teskey are both excellent defensive players, so no surprise that this team playing good defense. Simpson's floater no good. The scramble for the ball, Simpson comes up with it, throws it over his shoulder to DeJulius in the lane, kicks it out for Teskey. Simpson in the corner now, drives in. Looking, swings it back out to Brooks. They'll reset with 8 on the shot clock. Simpson for 3, no good. Livers battling for it now. Livers nearly comes up with it. Jones tipped it away. Ballack comes up with it back the other way, so a wild possession there. Now it's Damian Jefferson on the other end, and they're going to call blocking foul on Simpson, who's banged up after that one. Jefferson hit him hard. Crowd wanted to charge, but looked like a good call to me at first glance.
Yeah, I do believe that was the right call. Simpson did not really set his feet or establish himself in front of the man with the ball at all, just jumped right in front of him. And Jefferson really had no option but to go right through Simpson with the way he jumped in front of him. Simpson's up, though. He should be fine now. I think he just had the wind knocked out of him for a moment. But that will be his 3rd foul, so maybe you got to be a little bit concerned about that if you're Juwan Howard for right now. But with the way the officials are calling this game, I don't think you have to be too concerned.
Brandon Johns is going to check in for Xavier Simpson, give him a quick breather. I think you're right. I think he did just get the wind knocked out of him. He'll take a seat. Michigan leads 51-47, 13:37 to go in the second half. Creighton will inbound underneath. Zagorowski throws it in. Bishop looking for somewhere to go with it. Still nowhere to go. Now throws it to the corner. Zagorowski for 3, and that's good. Cuts the lead back down to 1.
First three-pointer of the half for the Blue Jays, and I think probably their best ball movement on a possession at any point this half. Michigan had excellent ball movement in the previous possession, too. Came up empty nonetheless.
Livers gets a screen from Teskey. Livers pulls up in the mid-range. Isaiah Livers hits. He's got 15 for the Wolverines. Lead back up to 3. Zagorowski comes quickly back down, right into the lane. Throws it back out. Bishop, spin move against Teskey. Now he's going to throw it back out. Zagorowski driving into the lane. Zagorowski looking for some help. Dumps it back down to Bishop, and they're going to say he traveled. He was guarded by David DeJulius, had the better matchup. Teskey was there to help, and Bishop was just unable to keep his feet locked. He travels. It'll be Michigan ball back the other way.
Incredible defense there by David DeJulius. Great awareness to cover Bishop and help Teskey, and then finally just getting his body in front of Bishop and making the stand despite having 7 inches on Bishop.
Brooks swings it to Livers for 3. That is good. Isaiah Livers with his 4th 3 of the game. He's got 18 for the Wolverines. He is having himself a night. Michigan leads by 6, and now Jefferson cuts back quickly the other way to put back dunk from Bishop. Another offensive rebound for Creighton as the pace is starting to pick up just a little bit here. Michigan leads 56-52, 12:20 to go. Isaiah Brooks dumps it back out to Teskey. Teskey will try a 3, no good. Johns battled for the offensive rebound, couldn't come up with it.
Teskey still heat-checking himself after a strong start in the first half against Appalachian State a week ago.
Bishop drives in, again kicks it out to Zagorowski. Zagorowski working against DeJulius. Bishop back out to Zagorowski again, 15 on the shot clock. Zagorowski pulls up for 3, no good. DeJulius comes up with the rebound, and he'll push back the other way. Under 12 now, so the next stoppage will be the under 12 media timeout. DeJulius drives into the lane. He is fouled. He's going to shoot 2, but first we do hit that under 12 media timeout. Michigan leads 56-52, 11:45 to go in the second half. How about Isaiah Livers and this scoring performance from him?
He is 7 for 9 on field goals. Not always taking the best shot selection, some contested mid-rangers, maybe something that might make you pull your hair out if you believe really in any modern basketball analytics, but he's making everything. You know, the old adage is any shot that goes in is a good one. I don't know if that's you don't know if it's going in before you shoot it, but if Isaiah Livers is shooting it on November 12th, 2019, it's going in. So any shot from him is a good one. 7 for 9, 4 for 6 from 3 from beyond the arc. That is just something else. And Michigan's going to win a lot of games when he shoots like that. We saw Castleton at the scorer's table. I don't know if he'll be coming in for Teskey. We did not see Kelvin Jones, since the last media timeout. I don't know what that is about, but Creighton sorely misses him. Bishop has certainly shown he's a great athlete, but he just does not have the size to compete with John Teskey. And even David DeJulius stopped him at one point.
Yep. He doesn't have any post moves. Every time he gets down there, he has to kick out. He did have the putback dunk that you mentioned. Michigan is a team 9 of 22 from behind the arc, hitting at a 41% clip. Creighton 6 of 15, hitting at a 40% clip. These are two teams that need to shoot the ball to be successful offensively. Again, though, Michigan has done a great job of getting back in transition, limiting Creighton's fast break points. Creighton loves to run, and Michigan has limited that. Both teams scoring with good efficiency, although Michigan a little bit better, 56%, Creighton at 43%, but they've made up for it with 12 offensive rebounds. 12 offensive rebounds. They've out-rebounded Michigan in total 29-17. What is Michigan doing? How are they getting killed on the glass? They've got John Teskey.
And it's largely when Teskey is in, Kelvin Jones has been the one guy who's been able to out-rebound him. And when Teskey is out, that's when things got really ugly. Colin Castleton really struggled. He's about to come in, so we'll see if he can improve.
Colin Castleton had 0 rebounds in 5 minutes in the first half. John Teskey, obviously 7'1". Castleton's around 6'11". He is subbed in for John Teskey. Creighton, for the moment, will keep their same 5. We'll see if that changes when they back. Nope, sorry. Sharif Mitchell's going to sub in for Tyshawn Alexander. Tyshawn Alexander, the leading scorer for the Blue Jays. He's got 16 points on 7 of 15 from the field. Zagorowski's got 11, and Ballack has 11. Ballack scored 11 points right away, and he has not done very much since for the Blue Jays. He was their sharpshooter, hit a few threes to start out the game, but limited since. And again, you mentioned Michigan has been much more effective defensively in the second half, giving up just 11 points through 8 minutes. What do you think Juwan Howard changed defensively at halftime to help this team clamp down on a team that's really efficient on the offense side in Creighton?
They have been, as you mentioned, they've been remarkable in clamping down, really stifling Creighton's ball movement. There have been very, very few open shots for Creighton. And I don't know if maybe it's just motivation and he's gotten the team to buy in more and hustle just a lot harder to the ball, but they have shut down really any ball movement from Creighton. I can count really 2 possessions where I was impressed with Creighton's ability to create opportunities, and Creighton scored on both of those, but they have just stifled them. It's suffocation, really, is what we're watching right now from the Michigan defense, which is what we're used to this unit, and that weird first half might be an aberration.
The last couple of years, even under John Beilein, who's well known in the basketball world as an offensive mastermind. This Michigan team has been top 10 nationally in defensive efficiency and just about every defensive metric. DeJulius hit the first free throw as we get going again here. DeJulius hits both. Michigan leads 58-52, 11:45 to go in the second half as Sharif Mitchell brings it up. We'll see if this Creighton offense can survive for a few minutes without Alexander. And Mitchell immediately gets the ball stolen by Brooks. Brooks in transition, lobs it up for Livers, and Isaiah Livers. What a finish on the alley-oop.
If it was possible, he sort of had a quiet 18 because he really didn't have any dunks and a lot of mid-range shots. Had a very noisy 20 now.
As Christian Bishop drove and drew the foul there on Colin Castleton, he'll shoot two. Isaiah Livers, going back to that NCAA tournament game against Florida, has been well regarded as just an outstanding athlete who's got some major hops, and he showed it again right there. Great lob from Brooks, great finish from Livers. Crowd didn't like the call on Castleton as Bishop shoots the first of his two free throws. No good for Bishop. That was his first free throw attempt of the game.
That was Creighton's first free throw attempt of the game.
It was Creighton's first free throw attempt of the game. Michigan as a team is 3 of 4. Creighton now 0 of 1. And we've mentioned a couple times, so few fouls in this game. A combined 10 fouls on both teams. Both missed by Bishop. Michigan will go back the other way, up by 8. Here comes Eli Brooks.
As Castleton gets, I believe, his first rebound of the game because Creighton's big man is the one shooting the free throws, so that gives him a chance to finally get a board.
DeJulius working up top, drives into the lane, dumps it off to Castleton, working against Bishop down low. Castleton, a good double move, has it knocked out of his hands by Damian Jefferson, who came over to help on Castleton. And immediately, Tyshawn Alexander comes right back in for Sharif Mitchell. Mitchell had it stolen from him on their first offensive possession, so Alexander gets about a 30-second rest there as Brooks will inbound it, looking for Isaiah Livers. Livers comes up with it, another mid-ranger, no good. Turnarounder jumper there on the baseline. Creighton comes back the other way after Bishop gets the rebound. Zagorowski working against Mitchell, dumps off to Ballack. Ballack now gets a screen from Bishop, tries to get it back to Bishop, and Damian Jefferson comes up with it underneath. Scrap for the ball now after the missed layup, no good. It'll be Creighton ball. We'll stay with the Blue Jays. Damian Jefferson missed the layup right underneath the basket. Shot clock resets to 20, 10:42 to go. Michigan leads 60-52. It's been a great second half for the Wolverines. They trailed by 3 at halftime. Zagorowski inbounding. Ballack with it now. Ballack to Zagorowski, working against Brooks. Gets a screen from Bishop. Into the lane now, working against Castleton, and he just lost it out of bounds, and they're going to say it went off Castleton. I thought he just lost the ball out of bounds.
I'm not sure how they come up with that one. I mean, Castleton has very long arms, but he was positioned pretty far away from the ball when that left Creighton's arms. I don't understand that one, but Michigan has thankfully built up an 8-point cushion so they can afford a call or two not going their way.
I could have sworn he just lost it out of bounds. As a quick inbound, as Zagorowski hits a 3, and that turns into a pretty big swing there as Creighton cuts the lead back down to 5. I swear that ball just rolled out of bounds off of Zagorowski's hand. Xavier Simpson checking back into the game for Eli Brooks. So for the Wolverines, it's Simpson, Livers, DeJulius, Castleton, and Johns here. An extended rest for Teskey. Castleton will swing it over to DeJulius. DeJulius cuts in, swings it out to Isaiah Livers for 3. No good, well short off the front rim. Now a scrap for the ball. Livers comes up with it. Castleton to Johns. And a hustle play by Isaiah Livers results in 2 points for the Wolverines. It looked like Creighton had come up with the ball, but Isaiah Livers just took it away. Wolverines back up 7. Zagorowski into the lane, a little floater, no good. Castleton grabs the rebound. It's going to be a jump ball. Zagorowski, and it looked like they were just fighting for the ball. Castleton went to the floor. Actually, great play by Zagorowski, strong from him.
He's 6'2".
Kyle Castleton, I mean, he's 6'11", but he's so skinny, and he should be able to rip the ball away from a 6'2" guard, you would think.
You would have to. Zagorowski, also his peer, I guess. They're both sophomores. Castleton's had some. I know it's very difficult for his frame to beef up, but that's what he needs as a player. Michigan really needs to help him focus on that because he is getting the ball ripped away from him from guys who he nearly has a ruler of height in between them.
I mean, I agree that it's hard for him to beef up with his frame, and you risk injury when you do that. But at least arms, you can gain arm muscle. But John Teskey checks back in for him. Tyshawn Alexander pulls up mid-range, in and out. DeJulius comes up with the board back the other way. We're under 10 minutes to go. Michigan still leads by 7. Xavier Simpson working, swings it up top to Livers. Livers gets a screen from Teskey. Had Teskey on the roll, didn't get it to him. Now Simpson will dump it down low to Teskey. Quick double team. Teskey still battling, dumps it out to Isaiah Livers. Under 10 on the shot clock now. 7 on the shot clock as Simpson drives into the lane. Tough finish at the rim. Xavier Simpson, once again, he's been excellent in the second half. Creighton nearly threw the ball away on the inbounds. Michigan back up 9. Xavier Simpson up to 16 points in the game, 8 of them in the second half. He's made 4 layups. All contested, all great finishes. Under 9 minutes to go now. Creighton trailing by 9. Tyshawn Alexander working against Xavier Simpson. Gets a screen from Bishop. Alexander into the lane. Working against Teskey, nearly blocked, and Bishop comes out with the rebound, kicks it out. Ballack no good for 3. Alexander battling still for the rebound, and they're going to call a push foul on John Teskey. They were both going for the ball. Another tough call. The crowd is not happy. Juwan Howard is not happy. John Teskey is not happy. Michigan has not gotten any calls in this second half. That's just the first foul on Teskey, so no foul trouble, but no calls really going Michigan's way right now, or at least that's how it feels to the fans in here.
Michigan's still not really in foul trouble. They're up to 4 team now. They could feasibly get into the bonus, but Creighton is still 0 for 2 from the charity stripe, so Creighton has not really made that a horribly frightening idea.
Sharif Mitchell checks in for Mitch Ballack. Kelvin Jones is into the game for Bishop. Tough drive from Mitchell, and Jones comes up with another offensive rebound, but has it taken away by John Teskey. Tough play from Teskey there. Jones just didn't know what to do with the ball after he got his 8th offensive rebound of the game. Simpson swings it to Livers, now to Julius. Michigan will reset with 20 on the shot clock as we tick down to 8 minutes to go in the game. Michigan still leads by 9. Simpson working up top. Gets a screen from Teskey. Simpson drives into the lane. Tough drive. Hook layup, no good from Simpson. Teskey had it for a second, but now Creighton on the break. They've got numbers. Alexander dumps it out to Zegorowski. Zegorowski will pull it back out now. Alexander working against Johns. Picks up his dribble. Jones has it now. Damian Jefferson drives baseline, dumps it off to Jones. Teskey went for the big block, but did not get it. Jones good with the layup off the glass, and they're going to call timeout now. Creighton full timeout. We're going to hit the under 8 media timeout. Michigan leads 64-57, 7:38 to go. Michigan has played much better defensively and offensively in the second half. It's still well within reach for Creighton, but Isaiah Livers with 20 points, Xavier Simpson with 16, trying to put this Creighton Blue Jays team away.
And Kelvin Jones continues to be phenomenal for Creighton when he's in. I'm not sure why he was not playing so much in the early part of this half. Maybe they were afraid of re-aggravating his injury. He did skip the Australia trip, did not play at least, while the team went to Australia in the preseason. I don't know if that would, if maybe he possibly was afraid he re-aggravated a lingering injury, but for whatever reason, Kelvin Jones has not played early on, and I think this game would be a lot closer had he continued to be in there. He has continued to grab board after board. Got bullied there just a little bit by John Teskey when Teskey ripped the ball out of his arms, but he's able to rebound at least as well as Teskey, maybe if not as complete of a player otherwise, and Creighton just needs him out there. He has given their offense life by just creating more and more possessions with all those offensive boards that he has. I think he's up to 7 now.
Yeah, Kelvin Jones, 8 total rebounds. It says 6 offensive rebounds. I think they didn't give him one that he should have gotten. 6 offensive rebounds on the scoreboard. He's got 6 points. Creighton out-rebounding Michigan 36-20, and for a team without much size, is that something to be concerned about moving forward for this Michigan Wolverines team?
Definitely, because we see how much the size can trail off the depth chart. Now, Franz Wagner is coming back. That will help more so in the backcourt with, just at least not having a bunch of around 6-foot guys there in the backcourt. Yeah. But as you expect, Wagner kind of too big to play a 2, but that's really where the role will be for him on this team, I think.
Yeah.
But that will help. But at that 5 position, it's going to be very difficult. Austin Davis, we have seen very little of this year. He was seen by many as a candidate to transfer last year, especially with Beeline's departure. Just has not played too well when he does come in. Castleton is clearly getting the more minutes, but he might have the vertical height, but not the width or the strength to rip balls away from guys, and that's been a problem.
Another thing we were talking about in the first half, I mean, he's 6'11", and for a player who's got good touch and can shoot the ball, he should be a dominant player, at least offensively, but he just doesn't have the strength, and especially when we get into Big Ten play, arguably the most physical conference in America, he's not going to be able to play out there if he doesn't put some muscle on and in a hurry.
Yeah, and good news for him, Ethan Happ is gone, maybe one of the most legendary Big Ten big men. But there's still so many of them. You know, Xavier Tillman is going to have a field day against him when they eventually will be playing at some point. That's going to be a problem, and Castleton isn't going to be able to put on all that much muscle between then and now. I believe the first Michigan State game is January 6th of 2020.
January 5th, they go to East Lansing, a much-anticipated showdown between Michigan and Michigan State, and then they will play again in Ann Arbor February 8th. Michigan State fell to number 3 in this week's poll after a close loss, although polls at this time of the year in college basketball don't matter a whole lot. They don't impact things later like college football polls do.
No. But, that maybe will come down and cost Michigan State a 1 seed down the road. But speaking of tournament implications, this one is huge. These two teams are right around each other's caliber.
Yep. Two teams that should be in the tournament safely, but depending on the seasons they have, could end up on the bubble. Xavier Simpson has his layup attempt blocked by Kelvin Jones.
And if things go a little bit subpar for both these teams down the stretch, this may turn out to be a game where one team gets in over the other because of their head-to-head victory. Of course, home field advantage is as big in college basketball as basically any other sport. I think it's the sport with the biggest advantage for home court. So Michigan, gets the long end of the straw here, avoids getting stuck with the road game against a very evenly matched opponent, but take every break you get.
My mistake, that was not the under 8 media timeout. You can't have a media timeout on a coach's timeout, so the previous one was a Creighton coach's timeout. Now we hit the under 8 media timeout, so we've got another 2-minute break. 7:25 to go in the second half, 64-57. I would counter your point with only baseball. Baseball is the one sport that has a bigger home advantage.
And that's because the rules change. Yeah, the rules change.
But in terms of actual environment, I mean, if you're playing a game at Duke or you're playing a game at Syracuse, I mean, those are loud buildings, and it does make an impact, especially when you're trying to communicate offensively late in games. Michigan playing at Breslin down the stretch, I mean, they just fell apart in all 3 games against Michigan State last year, but especially in that road game at Breslin, it was loud in there, and they just couldn't communicate. And Xavier Simpson is an outstanding leader, but John Beilein just couldn't get play calls to him late in the game, and the offense did absolutely nothing.
And while we're talking about home and road in baseball, let's not forget this was the road series. The home team going 0-7 in this past Major League Baseball World Series. Not that I think that really means anything. Just a bizarre sample, but nonetheless, it's an amazing thing in sports recently that couldn't let it pass, as you brought up, home advantage in baseball. But of course, Michigan has to take advantage of anything they can. Oregon is a team that probably is a little bit better than Michigan. We'll see when Franz Wagner returns just how good this offense can be. But they're coming to Crisler Center here in December. That will be a very big one. Michigan goes on the road to Louisville. That's going to be not a David and Goliath situation, but Michigan's not going to be given very favorable odds. So win those home games. That is essential. If Michigan can get a big win against a tournament team in Oregon here in Crisler, that'd be huge. But first things first, start with a likely tournament team here. Of course, Creighton, not the very top of the Big East Conference, but in that upper echelon that is a perennial tournament team. Certainly the best team in their state of Nebraska for now. But
Michigan's also got a great chance at the battle for Atlantis. They can beat a decent Iowa State team and then potentially take on a really good North Carolina team and their freshman star, Cole Anthony. Gonzaga will also be there. Alabama will be there. So a bunch of teams in the battle for Atlantis, that tournament over Thanksgiving. Michigan plays Elon this Friday and Houston Baptist next Friday before they make that trip down to the Bahamas for the battle for Atlantis. And then, as you mentioned, they go to Louisville on Tuesday, December 3rd, and probably their toughest non-Big Ten game of the year. Arguably one of their toughest games of the year in general. I mean, it's that or the road trip to Michigan State that you would argue are their toughest games of the season. And they come back home and play Oregon. Lots of chances for this team to show who they are. They've also got the pair of Big Ten early games. The Big Ten started playing early games a couple seasons ago. They've got Iowa at home and Illinois on the road in December before they get into the full Big Ten slate in January after winter break. As Michigan finally inbounds here. We resume play. David DeJulius working up top, dumps it down low to Teske. Teske turn around, misses the layup. Isaiah Livers throws it away.
And tried to maybe operate a bit quicker than he had to. I think he could have held on to that ball and tried to run the offense. Is an off-ball foul, I think, has been called. Not sure what.
Didn't see a number. It might be a clock issue. Not sure what's going on. The ref is over at the scorer's table communicating something.
Fans here certainly seem very confused.
No announcement from the PA either.
Michigan still just at 4 fouls.
Alexander inbounds. I'm not sure what that stoppage was for, but either way, it's 64-57 as we hit the 7-minute mark to go in this game. Alexander working against Xavier Simpson. Alexander still working against Xavier Simpson, down to 10 on the shot clock. Posting up Xavier Simpson. Alexander turnaround jumper is no good. Alexander now just 7 of 18 on the day. He struggled in the second half, especially working against Xavier Simpson. Michigan brings it back the other way. 6:40 to go now. Eli Brooks will set up the offense up top. Looking to generate something here. Michigan has struggled the last few minutes to score the basketball compared to the way they came out blazing in the second half. Eli Brooks into the lane, 10 on the shot clock. He tried his own version of Xavier Simpson's hook. That was no good, didn't get anything. Alexander brings it up in transition, swings it to Zagorowski. Zagorowski dumps to Balak in the corner. Just stifling defense for the Wolverines this whole second half. They've only allowed 16 points to Creighton. And more stifling defense here. Jones, great cross-court pass to Zagorowski. The floater is good. Creighton cuts the lead to 5 now as we hit the 6-minute mark, 64-59.
And Zagorowski has shot really well today. He is now 7 for 14, but it's been a lot of tightly contested shots or three-pointers he's been taking, 2 for 5 from 3. I think Creighton needs to get him the ball more.
And he's hit shots at big times, too, as Simpson dumps it down low to Teske. Finishes and the foul. John Teske brings the lead back to 7. Michigan really needed that one, a big answer. And like you were saying about Zagorowski, he's made a lot of big baskets for Creighton. When Michigan was going on runs, looked like they might pull away. He's hit some threes to give Creighton the lead. Bishop will check back in for Jones.
And this will be for point number 10 for Teske. He still is a bit shy on rebounds of a double-double. He'd need 4 more, so maybe might not be a double-double in the books for him today. But this is to get to 10. Only Michigan's 5th free throw and the 7th free throw of the whole game.
Teske also has 3 blocks. Not sure what the holdup there was, but the ref took the ball back. Now he gives it to Teske. Teske's free throw is good. It rolls around the rim and it drops in. So Michigan's lead back up to 8, 67-59. 5:40 to go here in the second half. Alexander working against Eli Brooks in the corner. Creighton needs to start scoring points and in a hurry. Zagorowski drives in, gives. Bishop working down low. Little floater over Teske. That's good. Cuts the lead back down to 6.
And Teske definitely tilts his hand a bit there and gives Bishop a lot of space. Didn't really want to leave the rim too far and create much space down by the basket. That might be a way for teams to beat Michigan down the stretch.
Simpson drives into traffic, loses the ball. Looks like they're going to say it was a jump ball. Possession arrow would be Michigan, so it'll stay with. No, they're going to say it was a kick ball. And it's going to be Creighton ball. They're going to say Xavier Simpson lost the ball, and then somebody kicked it. I don't know if it was Xavier Simpson or John Teske. So Creighton comes up with it, a weird turnover there.
And they're just down 6. I don't think they felt more in this game until just now, at least since the early second half.
Yep. Big turnover there. Xavier Simpson dribbled into traffic. Now Zagorowski into the lane, lobs it up for Bishop, and Teske blocked away the pass, but Creighton comes up with the loose ball. Shot clock did not reset. There's 10 on the shot clock. Alexander driving into the lane. Alexander pulls it back out, dumps to Balak. 3 on the shot clock. Alexander with 1 on the shot clock. That's going to be close to a shot clock violation. It was an air ball. 4:39 to go. More stifling defense from the Wolverines. They've been outstanding on the defensive end in this half. Creighton has only 20 points in this second half. It's a 6-point lead with 4:35 to go in the second half.
And Creighton just had to have more urgency there. Balak had no chance of getting a decent shot off. Didn't even get one off. Failed, and it was still a terrible one.
I mean, he had the ball on the M with like 5 seconds on the shot clock, and so just a brutal offensive possession there for Creighton. Eli Brooks drives into the lane, dumps it down low for Teskey. Teskey the layup and another finish with the foul. A chance to extend the lead all the way to 9. A couple and ones here for big John Teskey. He's up to 12 points on the day along with 6 rebounds and 3 blocks.
I don't know if you already saw it on the stat sheet, but can you guess who else is tied with Teskey for 6 rebounds on this Michigan team?
Is it Eli Brooks or David DeJulius?
It's David DeJulius.
David DeJulius. David DeJulius had been all over that glass, and that's been a staple of Michigan basketball for a long time. Point guards that rebound. Trey Burke did it. Derek Walton did it. Xavier Simpson has obviously done it the last couple years, and David DeJulius appears to be following that track. John Teskey will go to the bench for a breather, probably likely until just the under 4 timeout. Colin Castleton in this game, and this crowd getting into it. This is about the loudest it's been in here as Zagorowski brings it up. Michigan leads 70-61, 4:10 to go. Creighton in big trouble. Cut to the basket, Alexander with a huge basket for the Blue Jays. Cuts the lead down to 7.
And immediately once Teskey leaves, there is room for Creighton to operate. Castleton's a lot more aggressive, willing to play further away from that rim. Teskey will really never stray more than 3 or 4 feet away from the rim. Even we saw Bishop in open space, Teskey just stood there and let Bishop post up to shoot. That's really his strategy. Castleton's willing to come forward, and Creighton exploits that and just has a simple bounce pass underneath the rim, open basically every time. Teskey's not in the game. That is something for Michigan's opponents to look at there. Watch that in the tape and see how those 2 different big men defend the rim. There's a lot of room for exploitation when Castleton's in this game.
Simpson drives in. Castleton loses it underneath. Still loose. Jones comes up with it. Now he's battling with Livers for it. And it's going to be a timeout for Creighton. So Bishop had to go to the bench before that last play. He had a cut above his eye. That's why Jones subbed into the game, and he comes up with the ball, and they are going to give Creighton the timeout. That was their second to last, so 1 timeout remaining for Creighton. 3 for the Wolverines, 3:45 to go. Michigan leads 70-63. Wolverines have 4 fouls. Creighton has 3, so not close to the bonus yet for either team. It'll be Creighton ball after this timeout. Creighton needs to score on the next few possessions to keep this game close. Michigan's defense in the second half has just been absolutely outstanding. I mean, they give up 41 points in the first half, just 22 so far in the second half through 16 minutes of play. What's been the difference defensively for the Wolverines here in the second half?
Just the tenacity they've been defending with. They are leaving no space except for when Colin Castleton's in the game. We apologize to Colin Castleton for how we've ripped on him in this half, but clearly he just needs to be able to improve his physicality and his patience on defense. He's the one who can get sucked up out of position and maybe over-pursue, but otherwise every other defender on Michigan, they have been both patient and aggressive, and it's worked out really well, never abandoning their position and leaving a Creighton player open, or at least very seldomly, and they've all been very tenacious when they actually are playing defense and the ball is near them. It's been a really impressive half from them, and if they can all really buy in and play defense together this way, I think Michigan will continue to have one of the top defensive units in the nation yet again for the 3rd straight year.
Juwan Howard loves defense. He's been talking about defense since his first press conference with the Wolverines, and it shows. Creighton in the first half, 5 of 13 from behind the arc. They've only attempted 4 3-pointers in the second half. They're 2 of 4. They have not gotten to the line at all. They're just 0 of 2 for the entire game at the free throw line. Michigan, meanwhile, has gotten to the line a bit more. They're 5 of 6 for the game, 4 of 4 in this second half. But just defensively, the tenacity has been outstanding. The one thing that Creighton's done to keep themselves in the game is rebound the ball extremely well. They've out-rebounded Michigan 36-23, including 17 offensive boards. But even that hasn't been enough to overcome the defense from the Wolverines. When they get some of those offensive rebounds, the Wolverines are all over it. Although Creighton is also winning the turnover battle. Creighton has 7 to Michigan's 9, but at the end of the day, Creighton shooting just 43% from the field, Michigan 55%. They've been efficient at the rim, have the Wolverines. Creighton has really struggled to create in the second half, and they find themselves trailing by 7 here at the under 4 immediate timeout with 3:45 to go.
And I think your prediction earlier that Teskey will be back right after the 4-minute timeout will still come true. Only 42 seconds of game time passed. as he came out at 4:17, and he is back on the court now.
Yep.
So Juwan Howard, I think, has come to the realization just how essential it is that Teskey gets as many minutes as possible. And that was this team's fatal flaw last year, how not deep they were.
In the front court especially.
Yes, and when Teskey got in foul trouble in games last year, that caused a lot of problems. He's not in foul trouble yet this season, but it's going to happen eventually. And will Michigan be able to withstand the storm in those games? I don't know, but for now, we don't have to find out just yet as Michigan leads by a touchdown, 70-63.
Another interesting thing is Adrian Nunez has started both games for the Wolverines, but he's only played 11 minutes today. Michigan has favored this lineup with 3 guards. Layup up and good from Alexander Custalita 5. They favored this line with DeJulius, Simpson, and Brooks. Nunez not playing a whole lot. He did hit a 3 in the first half, but he was a defensive liability. Creighton went at him early and often, and Juwan Howard had to get him out of the game. Simpson drives in. Great pass outside to DeJulius, but DeJulius' foot was on the line, so Creighton has the ball now, a chance to cut it back down to 1 possession.
Yep, Michigan not out of the woods yet. It doesn't really feel like Creighton's ever shown too much life. There's not really been any significant run for the Jayhawks in the second half, but they're still very much in this, never went away, and now they could have a big final 3 minutes and win this game.
Thank you again for listening to 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor. This is WCBN Sports presentation of Michigan basketball playing the Creighton Blue Jays. Ticking down to 3:10 to go here. Michigan leads 70-65 as Creighton attempts to get back into this game. They've struggled offensively in the second half against a stifling Michigan defense, but find themselves just down 2 possessions here. Ballack tripped up, lost the ball, comes back up with it. Zagorowski into the lane, 10 on the shot clock, looking for somewhere to go with it. Ballack comes up with it again. Ballack, a tough 3-pointer, no good. Jones, another offensive rebound. Now Jones loses it, and Eli Brooks comes up with it. A wild possession there, but Michigan comes up with the ball, still up by 5, 2:40 to go.
And another steal for John Teskey. That's only his second of the game, but they were coming against Jones after those offensive rebounds, and that is really helping Michigan continue to have a great defensive second half.
Xavier Simpson is going to dribble this clock all the way down. Shot clock is at 10 now. Simpson gets a screen from Teskey. Looking for some help. Brooks now with 5 on the shot clock. Dumps down low to Teskey, working against Jones. Good defense from Jones, but the hook shot is good from John Teskey. Lead is back to 7. Michigan leads 72-65, 2:10 to go. Creighton quickly back the other way. Jones gives to Jefferson. Jefferson driving against Isaiah Livers. Outside for Alexander. Alexander working against Xavier Simpson. Going to get a high screen from Jones. Alexander turns it around against Simpson. Down to 10 on the shot clock. This Michigan defense has just been outstanding in the second half. Tough play from Alexander. No good, in and out. Teskey comes up with the rebound. Michigan leads by 7. 1:40 to go. Things are looking good for the Wolverines now.
Sure are, as Teskey finally wins a rebound battle with Kelvin Jones. It had been quite some time since his last rebound. But as we saw, he finished on Jones on the other end, just showing that he's the more complete player, and that really separated Michigan at the end of this game.
Simpson drives to the basket, dumps it off to Teskey. Teskey again. John Teskey up to 17 points. He has been the go-to man for the Wolverines down the stretch here. Pushes the lead to 9. Zagorowski, a quick drive. No good on the layup. Isaiah Livers comes up with it, and Xavier Simpson just going to slow it down. Clock ticks down to a minute. Creighton traps, and they do foul. They only have 3 fouls. That's team foul number 4, so it's going to be a while before Michigan is shooting free throws here, but Michigan leads 74-65. A minute 4 to go, and John Teskey, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks. He has finished for the Wolverines down the stretch.
Absolutely. He has just stifled the Blue Jays on the defensive end and finished the last 4 points for Michigan. He also was 3 for 4 on free throws. He has really just become a complete player for these Wolverines.
John Teskey wide open. They're going to foul him. That's team foul number 5, so still 2 more before Michigan is shooting a 1-and-1. 1:01 to go now.
And now Creighton is really paying for how clean of a game they've played.
Yep.
At least they're not really putting anyone in serious foul trouble here, but they still have to give more fouls to send Michigan to the free throw line.
And it's 2 or 3 seconds off the clock every time, and those seconds are valuable when you're chilling like this late in the game. Juwan Howard's going to have to take a timeout. Great defense by Creighton on the inbound. Isaiah Livers was not able to find anybody. Second charge timeout for Michigan, so they've got 2 remaining, which is helpful on these late game inbounds. Michigan leads 74-65, 1:01 to go. Isaiah Livers leading the Wolverines with 20 points on 8 of 12 shooting, 4 of 7 from behind the arc. John Teskey has added 17, Xavier Simpson 16. And for Creighton, Tyshawn Alexander has 20, just 9 of 21 from the field, and he's really struggled in the second half. He had 14 at halftime, just 6 in the second half on a tougher shooting performance. Zagorowski has 16, and Ballack has 11 for Creighton. Those are your leading scorers. And in these late game huddles, what do you tell your team if you're Juwan Howard and you've got this 9-point lead? You got to take care of the basketball, make your free throws. What are the keys here?
I think the most important thing is, first and foremost, hold on to the ball. It's better anyone goes to the charity stripe than no one.
Yeah.
But also try to find the best free throw shooters. I mean, Teskey is 3 for 4 today. We've only had 2 Michigan players shoot free throws. DeJulius 2 for 2, Teskey 3 for 4. But try to find Brooks. Looks like Brooks, DeJulius are on the court. Livers is inbounding it. So those 3 are probably the ones you want shooting your free throws. But first and foremost, protect the ball.
Livers inbounds it to Brooks. That's team foul number 6 for Creighton right away on Zagorowski. Isaiah Livers' most famous pass at Michigan, in all likelihood, will be his pass to Jordan Poole in the NCAA tournament 2 years ago, led to the buzzer beater against Houston. I would be surprised if he has a more famous pass than that this season or potentially next. As Brooks loses the ball out of bounds, and it's a turnover for the Wolverines. This can be reviewed. We're under a minute. There's 57.8 seconds on the clock.
And Brooks definitely thought that was a kickball. I think he could have grabbed that one, but he let the ball roll out. And all the fans and his teammates at that end of the court all reacted the same way.
Seeing the replay here, and it does look like it went off the Creighton player's foot. Eli Brooks is adamant that it did not go off of his hand. I don't think he did touch it, so unless the refs see something that different than we just did, I think it's going to stay with Michigan.
Yeah, Brooks was extremely confident about that. He did not at all seem interested in grabbing that ball. Michigan still up 9. All sections here really have started to empty out. People, I think, believe this game is over. We've seen crazier things. Michigan blew a lead at about this efficiency against Appalachian State, but I think right now Michigan's showing that maybe they're not obviously better than Creighton without Franz Wagner. You could argue things might have gone differently if this game were played in Omaha at the CenturyLink Center, but clearly that Appalachian State game was a bit of an aberration. I think Michigan got up really big and just kind of lost focus, led Appalachian State back into that game off some really good shooting at the end of the game there by Appalachian State. And I think really any of the crisis that might have been around this Michigan team can be averted. Maybe they'll make an appearance back in the AP poll. Probably not. Received no votes. Creighton had 1. But this is a big step toward NCAA tournament eligibility, and I think it really helps solidify this team. Their schedule gets a bit easier before the battle for Atlantis. I believe Houston Baptist is up next, so they have
Elon this Friday, and then Houston Baptist next Friday.
So Michigan can really settle in here and believe they are the team that they were supposed to be. Really?
That's interesting. So must have gotten a different angle than we got.
Or Eli Brooks had, looking at that from a foot away.
So it will be Creighton ball. But if Michigan can hold on here, they'll likely be 4-0 headed into the Battle for Atlantis tournament, where they'd face off with some excellent teams. Creighton comes up quickly. Zagorowski at 3, no good. Xavier Simpson comes up with the board, tries to throw it up to Livers. He was fouled first, so Xavier Simpson is going to shoot a 1-and-1. But again, the defensive adjustments that Juwan Howard made at halftime of this game were just outstanding.
Absolutely, and for a guy who has really only worked under one coach, and that might be a bit concerning, and he might be have a lot to learn from these players who've been under John Beideline's tutelage, but really impressive performance from a coach who has had it a few years now in the business, but has not been around much, hasn't seen too many systems, was very sturdy here.
Simpson's first free throw is good, extends the lead to 10. I believe that's the first double-digit lead for either team the whole game. Juwan Howard was a player for the Miami Heat towards the beginning of the LeBron Big Three era, and then retired and joined Eric Spoelstra's staff. He's been there since then, as Simpson misses the second free throw before coming to the Wolverines as head coach this past spring. Alexander's 3, no good. Rebound to Julius. Going to be another foul, and now it's just some garbage time free throws. Michigan leads by 10, and 43.3 to go. David Julius will go to the line to shoot 2, and Greg McDermott's team put up a good fight on the road here, but Michigan's defense just too much for them in the end.
Absolutely, as David DeJulius, they gave him rebound number 7. Yeah, it went away for a second here on the stat sheet, but so he ties John Teskey with for the lead in boards again. We'll see if he can surpass him on free throws made.
As the front end of the 1-and-1 is good for David DeJulius. Michigan's lead extended to 11, 76-65, and I mean this game is probably going to end up being a double-digit margin, but that doesn't really speak to the way this game was played. It was much closer than that, back and forth for much of the game, and Michigan played really well in the second half, but Creighton had moments where they could have got back in it as Zegarowski drives to the rim. Layup is good. And I believe they called a foul on David DeJulius in addition, or maybe it was a timeout for Creighton. It was a timeout for Creighton, so 77-67, 37 seconds to go in this one. It's their 4th and final timeout. So we'll have a quick break here as they'll try to set up some traps, but it would take a miracle and then some for Creighton to come back at this point, trailing by 10 with 37.9 seconds to go. John Teskey finished the game extremely well for the Wolverines. A lot of buckets down the stretch. He has 17, 7, and 3, but the player of the game has to be Isaiah Livers with 20 points, 8 of 12 from the field, 4 of 7 from behind the arc. He also added 4 rebounds. Xavier Simpson for the Wolverines had 17, 9 assists, 3 rebounds of his own. And then you mentioned David DeJulius. He's got 9 points and 7 rebounds. A really good game for DeJulius. And DeJulius, he was a high school point guard. He's really playing like a 2 or 3 role almost on this team right now, at least until Franz Wagner comes back. But rebounded the ball extremely well today, and impressive for a guy who's about 6 foot.
Really is. DeJulius had a really tough game against Appalachian State. He's definitely had a much better bounce-back game. It's going to be really big for Michigan to see who can step up and contribute, because this game was once again dominated by Michigan's big 3, Simpson, Livers, and Teskey. Franz Wagner's expected to make that a big 4 when he comes back. Probably is a better recruit coming out of playing for Alba Berlin than his older brother Moritz Wagner, who of course ended up becoming a first-round pick for the Los Angeles Lakers. So he will be very exciting. But can Michigan get a really solid 5th player to step up? We'll see. Free throws are part of that addition for now.
Inbound to Brooks. He gets it to Livers out of the trap, and Livers is fouled, so Livers will shoot a 1-and-1.
And
team foul number 9. It'll be the last 1-and-1.
For Creighton, this will be a pretty tough loss. Their non-con schedule is pretty weak going forward. Nebraska has completely blown up where they were and is starting at year 0. It's that traditional in-state rivalry is played every year. Will be on December 7th this year, and Creighton should win that by a wide margin as it's back in Omaha this year.
Nebraska with a tough early season loss to Merrimack. Creighton's next.
Northwestern lost to Merrimack.
Sorry, Northwestern lost to Merrimack.
Nebraska only lost to UC Riverside in South Utah. But Nebraska, in like 2 or 3 years, Nebraska should be a formidable opponent as Fred Hoiberg takes over for a team his grandfather briefly coached and the school where his dad was a professor.
Livers good on the first and on the second. Creighton's next game will be against Louisiana Tech at home. That game is 6 p.m. on Saturday. Michigan will face Elon at home at 7 p.m. on Friday. We will have the call for you, as always, at youtube.com/WCBN Sports. And just bench players in here now for the Blue Jays. Michigan's still got their starters out. Looks like they're going to finish the game. 10 on the shot clock, 12 on the game clock. Creighton looking for a shot. Michigan's players are just not giving up at all. And Canfield hits a mid-range jumper for Creighton. Jet Canfield, a freshman from Topeka, Kansas.
Topeka is how we call it in the Great Plains, Evan. I don't know where that came from, but
Topeka. Apologies to those in the Great Plains, or from the Great Plains, like Daniel. Xavier Simpson's going to dribble out the clock. The final is going to be 79-69. Juwan Howard gets a big early season win against the Creighton Blue Jays. Michigan improves to 2-0. Creighton drops to 1-1. Isaiah Livers led the way with 22 points for the Wolverines. Xavier Simpson, 17 points, 9 assists. John Teskey added 17 of his own, along with 7 boards and 3 blocks. And for Creighton, it was Tyshawn Alexander with 20 points leading the way. Zegarowski added 18. Biggest takeaways from this game?
Michigan's offensive struggles might have been greatly exaggerated. The defense is still pretty good, have not quite had the showings that you might have expected for them, but overall certainly an above-average Big Ten defense so far from what we've seen, and I think they will continue to get better as the year goes on. They really are dependent on John Teskey, though, but the offense has seen life. Xavier Simpson had maybe the worst game of his career against Appalachian State last week. He really struggled in the short range. Today he was electric from there. Don't know what his exact numbers were near the basket, but he was very good. Shot 7 for 11 overall. I don't think fans need to worry about him. The offense is still going to be pretty good. They have shooters. The question will be if they can have people who can contribute who are not Livers or Simpson, and if they can contribute offensively beyond just shooting. That will be important going forward for this team.
That is going to be all for us. WCBN Sports will have Michigan volleyball tomorrow night as they take on Iowa, and then Michigan basketball again on Friday, taking on Elon at home. That game is at 7 p.m. That is going to be all for us. For Nick Hornburg and Jared Greenspan, I'm Evan Oesterle along with Daniel Thompson. Thanks to Josh Tenzer for engineering this broadcast from the studio. This has been a WCBN Sports broadcast of Michigan men's basketball on 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor. That is all for us. Good night and go Blue.